Futures downside this morning here as we get going into a brand new and very busy week ahead. Get set for the banks to come through on the earnings front. So far this morning, we are dealing with a couple of minor earnings reports. We'll jump into that as well. But the macro calendar back into, or the economic calendar back into focus a little bit. The macro situation back into focus a little bit this morning. Oil back to the upside in a pretty big way after the U.S. and Iran exchanging some displeasantries over the weekend once again, and more rhetoric coming on the back of that as well. We'll talk about all of that coming up. That's how the overall market is looking right now after a positive week last week for the NASDAQ. Here we are gapping to the downside, as I mentioned. Oil catching quite the bid here back to the upside in a pretty big way after some strikes to end last week and then over the weekend once again through the Strait of Hormuz. Trump still saying Strait is open, boats are flowing, Adara, as they quote unquote never have before.
Yes.
Whether or not it's in a safe manner remains to be seen. So oil definitely back on watch here this morning, back to recent resistance levels. But I want to talk about earnings. We get basically all of the banks tomorrow,
yes,
or all of the notable banks anyways tomorrow before the open, which is a little bit different.
Yes.
Usually, I mean, the banks typically start things off for earnings season once we get into the full swing of things, but it's usually 2 or 3 or even sometimes 4 days. This time around, they're just all coming at once.
Yeah, so usually, Brendan, what I find is that we'll have 2 to 3 days of bank earnings. I believe the last 2 quarters, that's what we've had. It's usually Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They space them out. They used to be all on Friday. What this is going to be is different. So it's all the major banks, but Morgan Stanley are going to be on Tuesday. Then Morgan Stanley, BlackRock, ASML, they come on Wednesday. If you want to count Charles Schwab as a major bank, that's going to be on Thursday. So really interesting look here. You get 5 banks tomorrow morning. That is going to be, as you suggested, the big ones here. So Goldman Sachs, you've got Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and
JP Morgan.
Thank you, JP Morgan, and another one as well. Yeah. So lots of banks.
And again, these are never really amazing trades the day of their earnings reports, but I think the way you look at it and the way you should be looking at it is all these other companies that we talk about need banks to operate their business. So if businesses are doing well, then banks theoretically should be doing well. So more of a gauge of the health of the overall market at this point. And hey, listen, when anyone and everyone is looking for more money to raise more money to, build out manufacturing, if you're in the semiconductor business, you're going to be relying on banks in some way, shape, or form to facilitate that. So biggest story from Friday, SK Hynix obviously coming to market, just an absolute monster. We'll have a look at that coming up this morning as well. Really, I mean, just an absolute stellar debut, really, if you want to look at what happened.
Yeah, it was interesting here. You had that resistance clean at 177, and then you came back down. I think the low was roughly 11 points lower than that. We closed around 168. So we did technically close below where we opened. But I mean, in terms of the IPO price, that 149 versus where we closed and where we traded, it was a good look. However, SK Hynix did not do well in its native South Korea last night. So it's not going to be doing too well pre-market here either. That's another thing to consider. Here's a look at DRAM. Oh, it'll pop up here on the screen. That's okay. DRAM obviously pulling back a little bit here from those highs. SanDisk, Micron, et cetera, they're all going to be looking pretty similar here in that semiconductor and memory space. So those are certainly names to keep an eye on. Yeah,
Micron to the downside in a pretty big way here this morning as well, actually rolling over as we speak as far as memory stocks go on the individual side of things. Nvidia under pressure as well this morning after a huge day on Friday. It's interesting to note the rest of them, I mean, yeah, they're down, but Nvidia taking the worst of it at this point. Intel just making a fresh low also. So semis back to the downside. They've been under pressure for quite some time. I mean, last week was a pretty big week for Nvidia.
Yes.
Back higher again on the back of a 20% retracement off the highs. We're back to about 11 or 12%, I was noting this morning. But the narrative shifting once again, back maybe towards the oil story, back towards the Middle East a little bit. On that as well. I don't know if you read, but Lindsey Graham passing away on the weekend.
Yes, I did hear that. RIP Lindsey Graham. And it's going to be interesting as well here, not to get too into politics, but we were expecting a pretty big Judiciary Committee meeting, which he is one of the top members on the Republican Party of. So that'll be interesting to see how that kind of comes to pass. But yes, of course, RIP to him on that.
I mean, opinions aside, as you said, as far as politics goes, he was also a huge Trump supporter and a huge hawk when it comes to, everything Middle East and the U.S. participation in that. So whether or not that changes remains to be seen. So bit of a shock over the weekend anyways. He wasn't even that old.
Well, that's the thing too. I think everyone was waiting to hear what happened with Mitch McConnell, who is like 13 years older than Lindsey Graham. And I was like, I'm going to be honest, I was kind of floored because he's only 71, which is relatively young. And I think after that happened as well, Mitch McConnell, who was kind of MIA for health reasons, he posted a photo holding that day's paper, I think, to kind of prove, hey guys, I'm alive. But yeah, it was really genuinely jarring, I think, as someone who follows politics as well.
Yeah. A lot to look forward to anyways. CPI tomorrow, PPI the day after that, Michigan consumer sentiment to end the week on Friday, all packed with obviously key inflation data that the market and Kevin Warsh going to be paying a very close attention to. We get into the bigger names as far as earnings go, into some of the tech names coming up next week, and then the week after that, we're into the full swing of things. So lots to look forward to, guys, on a Monday. Happy Monday.
Good morning, everybody, and not the happiest of Mondays for some of the charts, unfortunately.
No, it's not looking good over here.
It's like the whole sell the news event kind of deal. You get SK Hynix, and then
I mean, SpaceX is opening up at its lowest price ever right here.
It's not looking very fancy, and everything is down. Like, it's not as if you're looking for what is up today, like on my quote board, it's going to be energy. And for reasons unknown, NEO, probably something there. PayPal up 1%. Like, PanW, 0.5% there. Like, Microsoft's kind of flat or slightly up. But to the downside is just pure chips, right? SanDisk, Micron, Intel, Marvell, obviously ARM there. SMCI going to be on the radar. Bitcoin's down a point and change. Nvidia is down a point. So really, it just feels like we have another one of these events where money gets spread around. SK Hynix came to the market so that they could leverage the boom, and the hammer's getting dropped as we speak. You get to drop the V on it, by the way, because on Friday we had to trade it with SKHYV. Now they get rid of that, so it's just SKHY, which makes a heck of a lot more sense. So that's going to be obviously on the radar, SpaceX on the radar, a little Bitcoin as well, but nothing looking incredibly strong, except for the effort by England. They finally looked like the team everybody thought they were.
So so this is actually to my point. They made the World Cup bigger this year, 48 teams, but I was reading that it's the first time ever that the Final Four are the top 4 teams.
Top 4, yeah.
So that's what I was telling you before about England. It's like they were expected to be here. Here we go, man. The Final Four are the top 4 ranked teams.
And it didn't hit the wire.
So it just goes like you get all this action happening with all these great stories, but it just turns out that the Final Four, and that doesn't happen almost like even in basketball. Like sometimes you get all 4 number ones, but it's kind of hard to get that. So that should be awesome. Yeah, starting tomorrow.
Yeah.
France, Spain, and then we go, and then I guess it's what day is the 19th? So Sunday we were talking about that. Sunday is the final game. So they go Tuesday, Wednesday, Sunday. So that should be a lot of fun. But so we're just looking forward to shorting, I guess, all day today. I've written down already the 3 ideas I have are short SpaceX, short SK Hynix, short to TQs right now. So, looking short everything. You were talking about getting some names that are upside. I mean, SoFi's looking great here, breaking through $19. SoFi up real nice, up 2% right now. So that'll be good heading into bank earnings. And as Brendan and Adair mentioned here, XLF, XLF's another one of those strong ETFs that have had a real great comeback over the last couple months, right? I mean, XLF was left for sort of dead down here as we were talking about picking up some of that JP Morgan down there at 280 or, some of those other names. And I think the banks are going to have a huge run here starting tomorrow, honestly. I think that these numbers, huge for banks. Like, I just think that, the numbers that they're going to be able to put up here, supporting that deal with SpaceX, they took a lot of VIG off of that. I know it was a great deal, made by Elon Musk where they didn't get as much percentage points on everything, but just the amount of volume that SpaceX was traded through. I think that that's going to be nice, and looking forward at SK Hynix numbers, and then, a possible, OpenAI, Anthropic IPO and whatnot. The markets have been really traded quite aggressively, so I think you're going to get some good trading revenue out of some of the major banks. And then, we'll have to hear what they say about moving forward with this sort of hawkish attitude that we have. I don't know if it's, I was looking at the Fed rate cut last week, and we were up to 25 or so percent, I think it was. Now you're 33% chance for a rate hike, and this is coming for the July number. So we're about 2 weeks away from that starting to kick through. So 2/3, 1/3, that could definitely change here. And we'll see, if the banks have any sort of talk about where they feel the rates are going to go and how they can perform. But yeah, there's those dip down opportunities in April, May that we had in the banks, and now you're going to get out JP Morgan at all-time highs. So I would say that this is sort of the space that I'm most happy to be in right now are the financials. Just heading into earnings season, I still am very, very nervous about all these major names coming out. And just making sure that, what is the CapEx number going to look like for an Nvidia? Are all these names going to keep on spending money and keep that name afloat? Because we did have a big day, as Brendan mentioned there on Friday. Cerebras down another 3%. Just trying to look at some of the newer names. So they're starting to get clocked a little bit there. Brendan mentioned Intel back at the desk. I mean, This is one that I was literally thinking like, hey man, I wanted to buy on dips, but right now, that's a pretty good one. I mean, you were just 140. Like 140 a week ago today. Well, that's July 1st, but 2 weeks ago there, I guess we had a bunch of holidays. That's July 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess we had a couple updates there, 5, 6. So in 7 days, you're down about 25% there on Intel. Like that's not good. Like that's not a great look, right? And then I'm thinking the next sort of, it's tough to say this, but like maybe an AMD, maybe, I don't know. Like it's just so up there still.
It's been holding up better than others.
Yeah, that's why I'm a little bit nervous about this one here. And I'd mentioned being nervous about it earlier, and it just keeps on going up. So, and then I was like, I want to sell some Meta up in these levels, right? And now Meta's holding out pretty good here today, only not even down 1% with the market down 1%. So, yeah, Meta's had quite a run. I mean, there's just so many names to look at. I hope everybody had. Obviously, they're a great weekend. Sharif off today. Hopefully he's enjoying or not. I don't know what hopefully, maybe he's sick. I don't know.
We got Brando.
Hopefully he's feeling better. But anyways, we'll have him maybe tomorrow. It's not even football today, so we'll have to figure out what's going on there. Almost a baseball all-star game. And Cease is going to start pitching. Yeah, fine. So that's nice. And they lost yesterday, though, I think. Yeah.
I want to hear the jokes stat. Is both all-star pitchers for the American League and the National League. Each guy is the most recent person since Roy Halladay for their team to start the All-Star game.
Right.
The last person started before now for Toronto was Roy Halladay. The last person started before now for Philly is Roy Halladay. May he rest in peace. An absolute legend.
Big time legend.
For us, he was. But one other thing to keep in mind. We'll throw the chart up because you can't ignore what's going on in oil. We're up 3.5 points here. Again, NASDAQ down 1. You can double barrel that with what's going on over what's going in the Middle East, in addition to the chip names. But we have there's a chance here that you're breaking back out. So if you look at the bottom end here on USO, like 115, it was been a resistance, and then another time here. So we're like a headline away from another potential breakout. So I think this week that puts a few things into play. Like maybe the little small cappers will start going again that have been rallying. But that'll be worth watching. The 115 level here on USO is going to be one to watch as we try to navigate both chip pullbacks. Bank earnings are probably going to be good, let's be real. And continuing oil prices rising higher and higher. So a lot to get into. We're going to have Michael Moss, of course, at some point as well today. Pre-market, as always. And let's get on up to the desk as the waters are warm.
Not around here. It's freezing once again here.
I was going to say, although in the
but it's going to be a really
cold.
Warm week, that's for sure.
Wow.
It's supposed to be 36 degrees tomorrow. Probably in the 110 area one more time.
It'll be like 40-something.
We did find out that it was Randy and Sharif conspiring against all of us to put these temperatures cooler. With Sharif not here today, maybe we can get a more reasonable level coming through. Yeah, all right. So far, I mean, I'm going to find some longs. I think maybe Apple might be a good long as well. Crypto trying to hold out 63,000. All right, man, 8 o'clock right now, 8:15. Thanks for watching. Everybody that's on TikTok, thank you so much. Everybody that's on YouTube, thank you so much. Everybody that's on Twitch, everywhere where you are located. We do have, once again, our consolidated chat feed up and running. So you guys let us know if you're around on TikTok, on YouTube, anywhere, man. Say hi. We love to say hi right back at you. This is what, I popped out the feed, but it didn't work. So I'm going to get that in a couple seconds for you. But yeah, welcome everybody that's here. Thank you for being here. Let's go back over the desk. We're lucky to have Brendan with us today.
Wow, yes. Sharif will be in, guys, for the midday, just had an appointment this morning. So not to worry, if anyone was worrying. Let's talk about SpaceX here. Just on a bit of a downtick right now. There was a couple of analyst notes I saw just floating through. We're starting to get some opinions on the SpaceX stocks of the world. We haven't seen, or at least I haven't seen any so far this morning on SK Hynix on the US side of things, but this has not been a good couple of days here for SpaceX, at least.
No, and even the one analyst note that I can say with my own eyes that I've seen, not great either.
No.
Bernstein basically saying, hey, China might be competition for SpaceX. That's definitely what Elon Musk, who already had issues with China and Tesla, wants to hear. But no, what I think was really interesting here with SpaceX, Brendan, is, as you know, Sam Altman and Elon Musk do not get along. Now, there was that whole OpenAI getting sued by Apple story, which I'm not going to get into here because I'm assuming we'll probably talk about it a bit later. But either way, we know Elon Musk cannot resist the opportunity to pour salt in Sam Altman's wounds. So basically, these two are going back and forth on X. And at one point, basically, you know, Sam Altman kind of goes after Elon Musk. Oh, like he's saying this about me, but he keeps thinking that we're going to get data centers in space. And Elon says, yo, well, we're actually going to have them in space flying overhead next year. Maybe you'll see them if your pro law officer lets you out, which is just a wild statement. But either way, it was interesting because I thought a lot of the comments would be like, oh, yeah, flame him, Elon. Great job, Elon. Instead, the comments were actually like, stop giving us bad projections, Elon. There's no way you'll get them in space on time. So I was really surprised by that response.
So he cancels this interview going back, I think it was Friday. He was supposed to be on CNBC, I think it was.
Yeah, he canceled it after the start time.
Yeah, which was not a great look, and I think left a lot of question marks in people's minds as to exactly what you were just saying. You know, what are we actually talking about here? But then I was reading this morning, he's supposed to give another update this week on these data centers, if you will, in space. But if you think about it from a hardware standpoint, we talked about this on the debut a little bit of SpaceX, it's not that, you know, it's not that far-reaching for them to be able to take what they have already in infrastructure that makes the satellites for the internet, you know, construct a different version of those satellites and use them for relaying data instead. It's not like, you know, they're going to be building these brick and mortar giant buildings in space and having them float around somehow. It's a different version of a satellite.
Yeah, I think it's interesting though too. I think some people in and again, software, you know, who knows how much they would actually know about this, but we know people in software and investing spaces. I believe the CEO of Snowflake said he wasn't really sure about the timing of this. I know that Masayoshi Son also was kind of like, I'm not really sure how this can happen. But again, like it'd be interesting to hear from hardware people who are actually maybe more in a position to talk about this. Because I think it's going to be an interesting look, Brendan. It seems like it could be possible, but I also think people are less willing to maybe believe the timeline coming from Elon, especially because he's been so flaky about timelines in the past.
You'll probably know this better than I will, but have you seen their earnings report, the date for their earnings report yet?
Sean and Neil were saying, I believe, August 6th. Okay. I haven't personally seen anything yet. It could be around early August. I think that would probably math out about right.
Yeah, that's August 6th is what's on the chart here. So we have some time to wait anyways, guys. But yeah, I mean, the daily chart not looking too healthy here. We're basically at all-time lows here this morning.
It's
I'm getting on
the only thing that makes it look better by comparison is the fact that SK Hynix is falling like a rock right now. So there's that. The whole tit for tat between Elon and Sam Altman over this Apple thing. Okay, like that's not necessarily a catalyst or anything big or bad. It just offers like a little bit of a sideshow, I think. But it did highlight the whole projections and make people start thinking about how long the time frame is before you actually get the growth that would justify this valuation. And that's very reasonable. It seems like we're headed to 135. That hasn't really changed. You double bottom 145. There could have been a breakdown trade, but you know what? We gap underneath it. So it's an all-time low. 145 is kind of an obvious level that if it tries to battle and fails to break back over, I think that looks like a short to me. You could probably even get into 140. You can get into 146, almost 147, and still be underneath some resistance. So I think it requires a little bit of patience. If you're breaking out well above 145, like say that 47 goes, I think you're waiting for 152 to 53 on SpaceX. But it's been as short till it's not. It is trending down, like it's just taking the stairs down. There's been really no buying since that 175 top. Like you've had consolidative days, but that's about as good as you'll get. Like you get a consolidation day where it kind of tags the top but doesn't really break through. So I think you just shorten the pops until something gives. Rocket Labs is also a bit of a story. You'll find that one in the watch list, but it's not as if it's only SpaceX. Rocket Labs is a flat bottom break of its own if it loses 79 bucks. So yeah, the entire space, lack of a better term, is looking a little bit weak this morning. And there we go Blue with the super chat. Brennan is back.
Brandon's back just temporarily, of course. Brandon will fill in every time Sharif is not available in the back there. Yeah, look, I have again, another top trade. We've been hitting SpaceX real good since it IPO'd. It's been my favorite, absolute favorite stock since June the 12th. So yeah, it's been amazing. It's been like account changing for me trading this name, and we're gonna try to do it again here today. 146 short, man. That's just, it's where the 200 period moving average is. We're just gonna keep watching it. I wrote down 147 short, but you know, this is now coming back in. I was hoping that we would just sort of hover around here, but now this is coming back in. So 147, 148.50, sort of the close there on Friday. Any sort of a bump up on SpaceX today, I want to be short the name. I mean, that 135 has a magnet to it, right? So definitely shorting SpaceX today. And look, could be wrong. And if we are, we get out of it, right? I mean, that's the best part about trading is you have the ability to buy and sell shares, and you just got to make sure you get the right prices. So we're going to make sure we do that there with SpaceX today. I, for example, am looking short on SpaceX. And then, you know, I've sort of been calling the demise of this ever since the SpaceX IPO and weeks before the SpaceX IPO. It was in here, man, into these levels. I didn't catch that top right because, you know, I was thinking we weren't going to bump up, you know, 2 weeks ahead. But this is exactly the call that, you know, I made there on Rocket Lab, Astera Labs, all these names. As soon as SpaceX came out, this was bound to happen. So now I think you got to start thinking about some prices to maybe get back into a Rocket Lab. Hopefully you were able to, you know, seek some advice there. I've never been in it. I don't know enough about the company to be like, this is a great spot to buy, but you're at the 200 period now for Rocket Lab. So if it's a name that you like and you do think that space is something, you know, now have 6 or 7 straight down days for this name, from 100 straight to 80, from 145 straight down to 80 bucks. So not often have we had things right like this one, but 60 or 40% down, pretty easy call there for a Rocket Lab. So maybe now it's finally time to start getting back to the upside in this name. So we'll have to watch out for Rocket Lab down here. So it's not just SpaceX that's sort of going bump in the night here. Many of these names starting to get hit to the downside. Rocket Labs would be another one of those ones. So yeah, man, SpaceX, yeah, there it is. What's up, Don, and everybody there that's in the chat right here. You've been scalping short since opening day. Yeah, you only would have had 1 or 2 bad days there on SpaceX if you're trying to go short. So we definitely want to say a shout out to that. And I said that too, man. That's what I was saying last week about the cooling in the space. I was thinking that the ocean would have been a much better space to start to thinking about all this stuff than up top, but apparently we are going up north there. What's up, Michael P. DeRider, and everybody else that's here? Looking for people that are part of TikTok, man. I don't see too many. There it is. What's up, Trade with Emily? I see Trade with Emily there. I see Scarlet FX is here as well. So talking about some gold sellers there. So yeah, what's up to TikTok and everybody that's around those levels of gold? GLD has been a downside push as well as Bitcoin. I mean, Bitcoin coming back in here today, 63,000.
Yeah, it's still
it seems it can't really do much. And then this is the downtrend in gold that I don't think a lot of people saw coming either. Like $500 back down into 370 again. So a name that kind of went parabolic out of nowhere from 2024 to 26. You know, you're now seeing it start to pull back a little bit into some decent levels. You can get it all the way back to October, you know, now gold. So, you know, sometimes these things are up and down. And I was talking with my kid on the way in today. It's just like, what are you supposed to do? You know, you want to hold these names, and you don't want to sell, because you sell it and then the next thing you know, the market's back up a couple percentage points and you might have missed, maybe you sold the bottom, maybe you didn't. So, you know, you got to try to make some moves a little earlier than later, you know. So gold, I think now might be at a buy spot, but you're always looking for some breakouts, and I don't know, it's not here right now. Oh, you know what broke out? Yeah, I want to look at Levi's, an earnings name last. Okay, so it's still at that $25 mark.
Yeah, it didn't really.
Yeah, because it did have a decent move there. Come on, down, and then we right on earnings day we were thinking about breaking that level, and then I remember looking at it. It had held there the 50 period. So this would be a name that I was actually thinking about possible breakout long through 25.50. So a name that's not a semiconductor name, not a space name, not a super exciting. But Levi Strauss right here trying to break through 25. I bet you it's not on Joe's watch list for calls and options.
Possibly not.
Possibly not.
Possibly not.
Is there, well, we're going to go back over. I don't even know what's on the list, but
I see.
maybe SK Hynix at some point gets started there. I don't know, Joe, have you heard of any sort of options dates or anything for SK Hynix, or maybe they're even out yet?
I think tomorrow.
I have not, Sean. I actually looked this morning to see if we had any derivatives for that name. Not quite yet, but we'll look into it and we'll figure it and we'll come to you guys with more information during the midday. But for now, a big breakout in META on Friday's session, guys. $650 price target here on this specific contract. Those are going to be ITM at this point, but a lot of open interest for a $650 name. We're sitting at 15,000 contracts at that level, and then the volume 27,800. That is going to be expiring this Friday, guys. So let's keep an eye out on some of these levels. AMD at that $557 marker, 1,900, relatively cool OI there, guys, and then volume sitting around 2,200. All right, but I want us to focus on the NASDAQ here, $720 strike price. Hangry Wife, if you're in the chat, we've been talking about iron condors for quite some time. We'll go over another example tomorrow, but we've been trading within this range, and it's a perfect setup, and it has been for the past couple of weeks for credit-based trades. Now we're going to be looking at this 720 marker, open interest 13,900 contracts at that level, and then volume sitting around 6,000. All of these contracts are going to be expiring this Friday. Moving forward, let's take a look at some put activity. We're going to look for Robinhood to hold at this $100 marker. We've been chopping around in a range as well. A little bit more difficult to play a credit-based trade off of this specific name. All right, guys, so at this $100 marker, we're going to be looking at the volume and OI. Volume sitting around 3,900 contracts, and then the open interest at 6,300. Let's see if we can hold this $100 zone. I know we're a little bit north of that right now, but then we want to break out from this level. Now, DRAM, another name here, guys, $60 strike price. All of our contracts are going to be expiring on the 17th. Now, for volume, we're looking at 4,900 open and closed on Friday session. And in the open interest, we're still looking at around 12,300. So let's see if these levels are going to come into play. Let's send it back to Neil and Sean. We'll be back momentarily with some upgrades and downgrades.
Okay.
Meta.
Yeah, lots of meta action there, lots of DRAM action. I mean, I think it's kind of to what Joe's doing here is talking about the names that are moving around.
Exactly.
That if you're going to trade on options, you do want to look for names that are going to have some liquidity because, otherwise you pay the premium and the stock doesn't move. It just sits there. So you are looking for the SK Hynixes or in this situation, the DRAMs of the world, SpaceXs of the world, and maybe not the Levi Strausses of the world.
Well,
I want Joe to do some work on some of these banks.
You never know.
Maybe for tomorrow or for the midday show, because those are what's coming next week or tomorrow. Starting tomorrow, and it's gonna. Yeah, we're gonna get JPM going, says Joe. And I just think that it's hard to trade options. Obviously, the couple days before the major event.
It's like the worst time.
You start to pay a huge premium for them, and just because of the volatility and the expected moves and all that kind of stuff. So that's where I would say if you're going to look at banks, a Robinhood, a SoFi, something that's not going to come, be reporting in the next few days, but yet in the next couple weeks. So watch out for SoFi. And before I say that, I should probably look up when exactly SoFi is. It's normally a couple weeks after. So here, if we go into no, I got to go into market events. That's what it is right there. I'll find out for earnings right there. Yeah, the 29th. I knew that. We had looked that up before. So, if you're going to play into the bank space and you do think that they're going to be relatively good reports this time around and you do like your name, I mean, SoFi is now up 3%. We just talked about it earlier. It was up 2%. So there's up another 1% there. So I think something's cooking with SoFi, to be honest with you. Not just because it is a position that I do have and been adding to it. This looks like it wants to break higher. And it's just like this $20, man, we haven't really broken. We talked about it. We haven't done anything in this since February, almost since the whole year. SoFi's just been on a real major downturn right now. But, Michael Noss has taught us to sort of buy smiley faces. This looks like a broken up face into here. I don't know, this guy needs some dental work. But at the end of the day, it's starting to get loopy here a little bit. And if we sort of trade the bottom of SoFi around 15 or 16 and think about, I hope Michael can see this SoFi chart and, maybe he likes it. I like it. I like the look of this thing. If we can break above and hold this $20 market, still have some work to do. you're up another 2% here today. But I think if SoFi can break and hold 20 and get back above, Michael's brought us some great charts before, historical breakouts on gold and oil and, IWM and names, looks that where you've sort of had a trough and a peak, and then you got into that peak and starting to continue higher. So I was looking for that little valley trade down there. SoFi might have had a nice little valley there.
One of the few things that's looking up today that isn't in the energy space, which I think is something that's you gotta pay attention to it. Like on on days where the markets are weak, where can you find relative strength? And sometimes it's even better. It's like, well, if it's kind of randomly up when the market is down, that can be a good sign. Someone that we know goes under the hood to discover all of these things. As Sean mentioned, the NOS boss, it's Monday morning, so good morning to Michael. We'll throw you back to the desk and get the NOS boss on.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit high level here this morning with Michael Noss. Good to see you, my friend. It's been a while. Happy Monday. Happy earnings season, I guess, as we get going here. A good topic, actually, that you've brought here going into earnings season, I think, as we'll talk a little bit about the cash pile that not only Buffett is sitting on currently, but how that maybe can portray what is to come a little bit here as we head not only through earnings season, but into the latter half of this year. A lot of interesting data points here. It's been a long time, I guess. I mean, record cash pile, but it's been a long time since Berkshire's had even close to this at any point.
Yeah, and it's going to be a little random. First of all, that SoFi chart, just because they were asking it looks great. I like it as well. I think it's a great call over 20 there. Just a big fan of that one. But yeah, this is the scary Warren Buffett kind of cash pile. And I want to show you kind of what everyone's talking about and more importantly, what they're not with this one. And I hope this can kind of be a lesson to say, okay, if people are trying to scare you with a headline number like this, how to see through it. Because, we live in an age of social media and this is what people do to kind of get clicks and all that kind of stuff. So all just completely aside, a book, How to Lie with Statistics, is a fantastic one that talks a lot about this stuff. But this is the number that people are showing. And in the next slide is a couple tweets. Again, no, not being mean to any of these people or anything, but you can just all over Twitter. It was trending on Twitter on Friday, and this gave me the idea for this is, this monstrous, almost $400 billion cash pile. This is crazy. And then they're showing this particular chart there that you can see twice, that the cash pile has just been absolutely ripping recently, and oh wow, he's raising so much cash. What does the Oracle of Omaha know that the rest of us don't? So the next slide is this is the chart that they're kind of sharing that I've made my own version of, and yeah, it looks pretty crazy, right? There's a lot of cash, and that line is kind of going straight up, and man, maybe he knows something. But the next chart is what they're not telling you, and this is going to be kind of the main crux here. This is the value, this is the overall market cap of Berkshire Hathaway. It's worth $1 trillion. Again, congratulations, you reached $1 trillion before. But, if you look at those two charts, they look really close, don't they? So it's almost like as the company grows, he is raising more cash. So that's why when you're looking at just a headline number like billion, and people will say trillion, and again, a lot of these numbers are getting pretty crazy out there. But you have to always normalize your data. Is $400 billion a lot of money for Berkshire Hathaway? Well, let's go to the next chart here and find out. So this is what happens if you take the percentage of what the market cap is of Berkshire Hathaway, how much does he hold in cash? And you go all the way back here to the last time it was this high, and it was 2005. So yes, this is a record. No, without a doubt, this is a record amount of cash that Warren Buffett has been holding. However, if you look at this, it seems to fluctuate between around 20 or 30% of his entire portfolio he holds into cash. And that doesn't seem too crazy to me. I bet you most people look around at their investment accounts, they probably have maybe a little bit less, maybe 10 to 20% of their net worth sits in cash. But for Warren Buffett in this fund, it's around 30, and this is, croaking on maybe 40% in cash. So again, not as crazy when you look at this chart as you look at the other ones. Yes, a record cash amount, but just not as crazy as you would think, right? So next chart is just comparing the two peaks, right? 2005 was 32%. This one's 37%. Looks a little less scary when you look at just these two bars. And then let's say, okay, what happened the last time he raised a lot of cash? Did he have some sort of magic power to predict something? Well, he raised that cash around 2004, 2005. The market ripped another 25% from there. And then, yes, 2008 happened. So did he predict it? If you ask him, no. He just said that that was a pure coincidence. That he had that much cash there definitely helped him. But that's just kind of just coincidentally, he raised a little bit more cash than normal, not a ton more. And for him, if you ask, I actually looked up quotes, because of course people have been asking about this. And he says, yeah, we're holding a little bit more cash than normal, but the reasons he gave was he just can't find a lot of deals right now that he likes, and he's retiring. So he didn't want to leave a fully maxed out, I think he's technically retired, but he's retired, but still going to the office every day and probably still calling the shots. And he just didn't want to leave the new guy with a fully invested portfolio. He wanted to give him some runway to make some of the deals of his own that he may end up liking. Last bit is just some confusion. This is just the last chart here of some confusion that people have had, where some people are saying the cash is just kind of way more because they're counting bonds as cash. So you have to pull that out. It would make sense why someone would hold bonds in this environment that has the highest interest rates that we've had for a long time. And that can skew the data for some people when they're showing this kind of 2004, 2005 number. But just know that, again, the cash amount's roughly where it is. So the main takeaway here is, even if you ask Warren Buffett himself, he's not saying that he's raising cash because he thinks the world's going to come to an end. And then also, when somebody gives you a big absolute headline number, always make sure that it's being normalized to something. You know, people will say, for example, the US dollar has lost 96% of its purchasing power in the last 100 years. And that's 100% true. So if you just put $1 and you threw it under your bed, then yes, you can't buy as much as you could. But it doesn't talk about how, you know, wages have increased, how, you know, if you had that money in the market at all, you've outpaced that inflation and some. So again, just beware of big round numbers that sound scary, and then just look and see, hey, is this number being normalized to something that makes sense? In this case, when you normalize this number, it's just not as scary, I think, as people are saying it is.
It's interesting, as I mentioned, going into earnings season here. This is a guy that's been fundamentals based, you know, his entire career. And as you alluded to here, how much influence does he still have? If you're the new guy, however, you know, sitting with your hand maybe not in reach of that pile yet, but pretty close and getting closer maybe on a daily basis here, you got to think this earnings season is going to present maybe some opportunities for them to start using some of that.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I think he's looking for, and we got to remember, you know, Berkshire Hathaway is not known for its AI infrastructure investing and all of this stuff that's going on right now. So it makes sense that they don't really see the deals that maybe they used to. But we have noticed all the time, if you go back in history, that when a company, you know, maybe gets a bad earnings report and has a bit of a sell-off, and if they think that that's a flash in the pan, that's a value investor's dream, right? If there's a one-line write-off or something and the market overreacts to it and they can buy something a little cheaper, that's great. And also, I think it has to do with the fact that he's watching interest rates. So I think it's the two kind of levers that make sense. If we get to see a pullback in, you know, banks, you guys were mentioning, they lead off the earnings season now. Warren Buffett loves his banks. He loves his insurance companies. So if we start to see a reaction there, maybe he moves some of that cash to work. And then also, you got to think, for someone who is so safe on investment, to have interest rates so high, he's making a whole bunch of money off of that cash. Now, you know, he's never going to be the one to buy SanDisk and hold it for, you know, a 10x as a momentum play. So for him, he's probably sitting pretty nicely in a bunch of bonds. And from there, he needs to see something that's not only an attractive investment, but is an attractive investment above and beyond what the interest rate's currently paying, which could just mean when interest rates come back down.
From a technical standpoint, we'll get away from this a little bit. From a technical standpoint, we're in a really interesting position here going into earnings season for some of those names you just talked about, some of the memory names, semiconductors, you know, in some cases 20, 25, 26% off their highs. Historically, a spot where people like Warren Buffett or bigger investors tend to start dipping a toe in, testing the waters, testing some levels, even if we get another 10%, 15%, layering into something on the way down. We're in that area, as I said, going into some of these reports here. Anything from a technical standpoint, maybe we can talk about this maybe at the end of the week, semiconductors specifically, memory specifically. I mean, Nvidia had a big bounce last week, but this is a spot where I think a lot of people are going to start being interested.
Yeah, I bought some SMH on Tuesday, and I kind of hope it comes down more to show that, because every time semiconductors in not just recent past, but kind of historically, takes around a 10 to 20% pullback above the 200-day moving average. I think that's important, above a 200-day rising moving average. It's been a great spot to start averaging in, to grab some there. Eventually it won't work, but that's been my game plan with this, and it will continue to be my game plan. And I think it's something that makes sense because I have a hard out. If we break the 200-day moving average, which we are currently on semiconductors, like still way above, 40% above the 200-day moving average. If that ever breaks, then that's kind of when you can say, okay, maybe the party's over for now. Doesn't mean we need to crash, but maybe we stop going up at some point. But I think that's the right move, is make sure you're not FOMOing in as things are moving higher, but have some cash, like Warren Buffett does, for when these drops happen. And as long as they're happening above a 200-day moving average, you got a pretty solid game plan there.
What do you think the odds are we wake up, halfway through next quarter when some of these companies start reporting their positions and you see maybe not a huge chunk, but a little bit of Berkshire now going into maybe a spot that he hasn't traditionally been known for because of this opportunity?
I think if you see that, then that's probably mean he's not showing up to the office every day anymore, and the new guy got one in there. I think that's gonna be the really interesting thing with Berkshire is, you'd want to make a name for yourself, right? You wouldn't want to potentially live in Warren's shadow your entire existence. So you'd want to make a couple really good deals. And I just wonder how much that urge or instinct of the new person who's taking over the reins is going to pull them maybe away. Because would Warren ever buy a SanDisk or a Micron or something like that? I don't think so. We got to remember, he sat out the entire internet thing entirely. He bought Apple like 20 years after kind of the internet was a thing. So it will be interesting to see, but I think if you see that kind of stuff, then it could be a sign to the market that maybe the new guy's got a little bit more control than we're giving him credit for.
And let's be honest, it would be refreshing, I think, at this point, for a company like Berkshire. I mean, no complaints on how well they've done over the decades, but it would be refreshing, I think. Michael Noss, great stuff as always. Have a fantastic week. We'll catch up on Friday.
Talk to you Friday. Have a good week, guys.
Fantastic stuff always by Michael Noss. Make sure you join us Monday morning and Friday morning for that segment. All right, guys, let's take a look at some of the analyst actions here this morning. We're going to kick things off with some downgrades. We're going to start with Papa John's going from a neutral weight to an underweight. We're down 0.6% here, but with a $34 price target, that's down from $42. B of A giving them the downgrade this morning. Now, Best Buy also getting the downgrade, going from a buy to a hold and an $82 price target. We're down a little bit more than 0.33%. Loop Capital giving them the downgrade. Now, HSBC downgrading AstraZeneca to 13,750 Great British pounds there, guys. You're down 0.5%. And Sun Life Financial, the Canadian financial group here, Evercore ISI giving them downgrade, going from an outperform to an inline with a $111 price target, Canadian that is, but that is up from 102 Canadian dollars. Now moving forward, let's take a look at some more positive things. American Express, JP Morgan giving them the nod this morning from a neutral weight to an overweight with a $400 price target. That's up from $328, guys. Now Deckers Brands also getting the nod. You're up a bit more than 0.8%, going from a hold to a buy and a $130 price target. That is up from $110. Jefferies giving them the okay. Shopify, another Canadian name here, guys, up 2%, going from a hold to a buy and a $160 price target. That is up from $140. Now, KC outlet stores here going with a price target increase to $950. No specific upgrade there, guys, just a price target. And then also up 0.8%. North Coast giving them the nod. Let's send it back to Neil and Sean.
Thank you, Joe. And of those upgrades and downgrades, you find Shopify on the free watch list, everybody. It'll be in there from Jefferies. And they're up a couple of points. There's some room here, but like a bunch of other names, including we were just talking about SoFi recently. And yeah, you might be bullish, but you still need that one big break. It's it's about $10 from here, and it's a double top, possible triple top incoming. I mean, if you really want to count it on earnings or Fed, but 135, 136 on Shopify could be a nice little big breakout potential. But the NOS boss talking about financials. When it comes back, you have to mention the XLF. It's primed. We're right before bank earnings, like literally on the precipice of bank earnings. You've got the double top on XLF. You're literally making the golden cross if you're into that. The 50 period starting to break higher. You've flattened out a little bit on the 200, but that top break kind of feels like you'll get that usual, okay, well, what are we complaining about with bank earnings today? And maybe get that little bit of a dip and then look for the post-earnings breakout play on the XLF. Really like what's going on with this chart for sure. So I think the financials look very good, and they're poised for a big breakout after their earnings. Got to be on watch. Well, I mean, they're obviously going to be on watch, but I've been a little bit. I mean, I like Morgan. I've certainly liked Morgan and Goldman all year long, but now the broad group, I'm going to like the ETF a heck of a lot better with this breakout.
Yeah, before we went to Michael Nasser, I was looking at the XLF there and talking about it. And yeah, man, I really thought that was going to be a good one heading into bank earnings. I still do like some SoFi action over there. I mean, I'm looking at, the breakdown of various sectors here today. So, a SOX L, something like that. I think the DRAM is going to be a good trade. SOX L, I think, is going to be a good trade today as well, down 10%. Looking to break lower, through, unfortunately, it's been a pretty rough ride for this name, again, a triple levered ETF. So, you gotta, if you want to be something a little more pure, that's not, you're not worried about the triple aspect of it. The SMH still down a couple percentage points today, not for a good ride, I don't think. Underneath the 50 period moving average, looking a little bit lower here, SMH. So like I had said before, getting out of the Marvell and all that kind of stuff and maybe rotating into SMH, and just so that way you have a little bit of everything, so you're not suffering like single stock risk, because today you have names like Marvell, ARM, some of the names that are, more high flyers going to be down a little bit more than what some of these indexes are, right? Down 3% there for Marvell, and I think ARM was something, actually ARM around 314 is probably holding out a little bit better. Let's see, down 3.2. So they're all starting to tick a little lower, and we mentioned Intel before as well. So, and then Nvidia got up to that 5 trillion mark again, hitting up around that 210 marker, and they're starting to head to the downside. There's Intel down 3% as well. So all of these names here in the semi space, downside. Nvidia down 1.4. So that might be the best of the best. There continues to be that way for Nvidia. We'll see if it can hold some of those bids from Friday. And then Palantir green today. So Palantir had a couple rough days there back to back. We'll see if Palantir can wind up holding today, as some of the focus, will be on that chip space. So we're going to see if we can get some money back into the old account here with Palantir. And it might be on a break lower as well if it can't hold these levels, coming right into this 125 zone that we've seen before. So that's going to be a very interesting little level there as well. So yeah, interested to look everywhere today. Thanks for those upgrades and those downgrades. But and thanks for Michael for coming through. And I'm glad that Michael likes the way that SoFi looks. So great minds think alike. So I don't know why Michael's thinking like that, but right into there, $20 breaking long on SoFi. Definitely a name that I like, and it's on my radar. So we'll see what they can do. July the 29th coming for earnings on with SoFi. So. All right, 62.6 on Bitcoin. Not a couple bad looks there. Thanks, Joe, for the upgrades and downgrades. We'll wait to see what SK Hynix and SpaceX do here off the open, as they both continue. Well, I haven't looked in the last 5 minutes, but they both continue to go lower. SpaceX going to open up at its lowest spot ever, and then SKHY there today. No V on this one, and it's had a nice move back off through this 150 marker. So there we go, man. Yeah, we were talking about trying to short some of this, now might be the time. Get ready for SK Hynix. It's still about $30 for 100 shares. I've already paid for it. So we'll wait to see what happens with SKHY moving forward here today. Should be a good one. We can go back over to the desk now. 10 minutes.
Before we do, I know a few people were mentioning this small capper running AGEN. Maybe that's a one that you want to be scared to short. Who knows? But it is looking pretty good, trading higher after the company announced it will raise $85 million to fund its colon cancer drug trial. So 41 million shares of volume already here in the pre-market. It does have about a 14 or 15% short float. The actual float's about 41 million, so it's literally turned it over once in the pre-market. Not a gigantic short float, but a decent enough one. And when you pull this one out on the daily chart, hey, it's been making a range and it tried to break $5 several times in the last calendar year. And each time, topping tail wick, topping tail wick, topping tail wick. So understand that this is a stock that has gone right into this price range multiple times this year and kind of given it up. Gives you a nice little level to work off of. If it can hold throughout the morning, this one can look very, very spicy. So yeah, AGEN, shout out to everyone that's mentioning that one in the chat. And Randy has brought some fruit, although it's not the usual fare.
No, oh my God.
Those are not bananas.
Those are
huge
ass oranges.
Big oranges.
Right there.
Big oranges.
Right there. Shout out to the orange family there. It's a big one. I love oranges though, that's for sure. I prefer orange juice than apple juice. I like apple juice too. Which juice do you prefer?
I'm freshly squeezed orange juice if it's freshly squeezed. Yeah. But if it's not, then I kind of prefer apple juice.
Yeah, I don't mind apple juice. Yeah, I think it's all. Let us know in the chat what you guys like. Brendan and Adair, are you apple or orange juice people up there?
Tough one. I gotta say orange, I guess.
I guess I'm choosing between those two. Orange, but no pulp. I'll make that really controversial, I guess.
Yeah, I got to be with you on that. But there's like if it's fresh,
yes.
Squeezed, then I'll go a little bit of pulp. But yeah, like in the box, pulp is
no pulp in the box, but like fresh. Like my mom used to make fresh orange juice. Pulp is fine there. Yeah.
I find apple juice really sweet. Like there's a lot of sugar in it. It seems like more sugar anyways than orange juice. But anyway, we digress. Trump was on Fox for probably, 25, 30 minutes at least talking about Iran. There's really the market did sell off the entire time during his appearance, but he has ended that interview now. So, we are getting a little bit of a bounce here on the futures. All the same comments that we've heard before, nothing really outrageous, I think, from Trump. But I was watching oil a little bit here. It did make a new high. We are pulling back once again, but 113 coming back into play here this morning for USO.
Yeah, I remember I actually kind of saw that these strikes were happening again because I was just on X or whatever, and I guess Pete Hegseth has posted something about how these strikes have happened again. So yeah, I believe Saturday night the U.S. strikes Iran again, and then Iran starts striking the U.S. I believe their military bases in the Gulf again as well. So unfortunately, this back and forth continues. Now, as we've mentioned here, Brendan, this is massively below here at those recent highs that we made in mid-May. But there are still some concerns here. President Trump last week said the ceasefire was over. Iran does not seem to agree that the ceasefire is over, and yet both countries are striking each other. There's a lot of posturing, I think, on all sides of this conflict. We're going to have to wait and see. I was reading that apparently we could get, I believe, Lebanon and Israel potentially coming to the table again this week, so we're going to have to wait and see what happens there. But I think right now, Iran and the U.S. are probably the bigger fish to fry.
And meantime, everyone's mostly paying attention to what they have to fork out at the pump for oil and gas, obviously for their cars. Gas specifically, back to the all over Canada once again, we're seeing the average creep back higher with oil prices creeping back higher. I was reading a story this morning about more and more ships being asked to make this pass through the Strait of Hormuz with their transponders off. The dark passings, as they're calling them, versus the way they typically do it with their transponders on so everyone in the world can actually see where they are, but they're using that far channel that the U.S. is apparently controlling and making a safe passage for. But there's so many contradicting reports here. The U.S. is saying one thing that I mean, Trump was saying on the weekend that there's more ships coming out of the Strait of Hormuz than ever before. Iran, meanwhile, saying that traffic has essentially come to a halt once again until they say so that it's going to be safe.
Well, yeah, and I think the whole they say so is really key here because they were also saying last week, Brendan, that, oh, we could only pass through the strait if you coordinate with us first. So now that obviously would be very different from what A, what the U.S. wants, and B, what they've been saying has been happening. Now, in terms of the prices of gas, as President Trump said last week, and I quote, as goes oil, so goes everything else. You're really seeing that happening. I think it'll be interesting, too, now that he's, back from Turkey last week for that summit. I think maybe, hopefully, at some point we get some kind of, press briefing. So we kind of get to see a bit of an update here in terms of A, how long is this maybe going to go on for, if they can give us kind of any indication, because I think there are a lot of concerns. B, when it comes to, as you mentioned, gas prices, it's midway through the summer now, more or less, and I think those concerns are going to continue to ratchet up, especially as we head into back to school.
Yep.
People want to save money, and furthermore, tomorrow, July 14th at 10 a.m., we get a House Financial Services Committee hearing during which Kevin Warsh is going to be delivering his first ever semi-annual testimony. I bet he's going to be asked here about inflation, potentially in regards to gas prices. And I think given how tight-lipped he is about guidance, it's going to be one to watch.
That'll come on the back of CPI as well,
Yes.
coming up tomorrow morning at 8:30. We'll also get PPI this week. We get Michigan consumer sentiment to end things off on Friday. Just reading a note here from Citigroup on Apple. Huge couple of weeks here for Apple, right back to highs. Essentially, price target looks like raise from Citigroup on Apple, guys, as well. Right here, right now for Apple.
Yeah, Apple's on the list today. And, before we get to Apple, just one quick note on USO. Because on Friday, remember about 10:20 when we had that crazy volume event? And it was like, if you were watching anything, the bid dropped on pretty much any stock, and then energy went crazy ham to the upside, and then just immediately gave the move right back. I think when you see that kind of price action where it's almost just instantaneous, gives it right back on volume, then when it goes back to doing regular volume, it's like basically in the downtrend that it was before. You got to look for something. If you're looking at a strong stock, or you're get maybe wicked out of a trade because that was a lot of that was happening to the longs, you might be sitting in a long. It was just business as usual after the fact. So another crazy volume spike like that, where it's a few minutes later, you're right back as if nothing happened. You got to just jump right back in on some of the trades that might have been gone to kaputs. I think it's just the reality of where we're sitting at with the algos. Some of it might have had to do with the fact it was a Friday in the summer and maybe a little bit less liquidity when that hit. But I think you could start to see more events like that. You want to be there for the reversion. So going to be a little more Johnny on the spot with those. Apple, love it. We've been talking about how Apple is the safe play in the Mag 7, despite some of the answers we keep getting in the polls from the chat, because I guess it's a little bit boring, but boring is great. Boring is leading it to another all-time high test, which is coming in. Do really like the higher lows that it's putting in into this all-time high breakout. It has been failing those breaks, so it's been much better to look for the consolidative levels, like the 312 half. That works. It already double bottomed once here at 308. So that's been giving you some places to go into the dip buy for Apple. I think nothing's really changed, so I want to continue that pattern here today. And again, it's just relatively safe. One thing you do have to watch, at least a lot of times for Apple, is if you get like a massive rally in some of the memory chip names, some of the AI play, that will tend to take a little bit of the wind out of the sails, right? So if you're looking short in like DRAM, or I don't want to say Nvidia, like AMD, like those types of names, they do harsh reversals. Sometimes then Apple will start to look a little bit relatively weak. But for now, it's long and strong, 312.5, like that level, because that's the first higher low we got to work off of. It showed last week that if you go for the dip buy, it's really just a matter of patience. And a lot of times it'll even give you these double bottom setups, or a higher low and then form the trend, breakouts, just all kinds of great long setups here for Apple last week. But the first one's dip buy into 12.5.
Yeah, I was looking at the TQs here for a short today. I mean, Apple, it's starting to run back to the upside a little bit, which is getting pretty good for us. Sticky notes now out. I wrote down 76 shorts. So we're going to watch out for 75, 75, or up to 76 here today for the short side of the NASDAQ. I mean, down another 1% there. I mean, it's been traded quite well on the NASDAQ, considering, we keep looking at these major cap names and say, what's going on with them. You're just now breaking underneath the 50-period moving average. So, we're going to wait to see what happens on this, but I'm looking to go short now that we've broken back underneath it, at least to start the week, until we get some more, major headlines for the NASDAQ. I'm going to be playing the short. We can get out of it so easily, and that's why we write down at 76. Or if you're going to look at the Qs itself, the 722 to 721 area, I don't want to be short if we break above 722 right here on the Qs. So that would be a key level for me on the futures as we continue to look forward into what today could bring. I think it's going to bring a down day, especially with Brendan just mentioned there. People now looking again at the pumps and trying to figure out, hey, gas is starting to go back up to the upside. Trump was all on, many, spots last week talking about how oil needs to probably come back in and gas prices need to go lower, and blaming some of the gas, some of the companies there at the pump, saying, considering where gas and where oil is, maybe the price should be a little lower. But we still do have that summertime drive. We still do have people taking vacations, everything like that happening. So I think the demand is still there for USO, and it seems like we're going to get more and more turbulence here in the Middle East, creating some issues here for United States oil. So yeah, I would still say this is probably going to be an upside move. I know it's coming back in right now. We'll look to see if oil, just looking longer time, it's 112. Do we get back into this 110 area that we couldn't really break through on Thursday, Friday? If so, I think that would be the first area to start looking a little long. So, ears to the ground on what's going to potentially happen today with USO. And I got the news going, and Daryl will be here all morning with us as well. So anything, cracking in energy space, we will definitely have a look. And we did talk about XOM last week and how that had hit in and around its 200-period moving average, trying to bounce back up today is XOM, up another 1%. So, yeah, good levels here for Exxon and CVX, all back into this 130, 135 area. That's exactly where that 200-period moving average is. So looking for a little bit of a long there in XOM, also something to be talked about. We'll talk about J&J and Eli Lilly and all these sort of other names where you can also get some nice dividends in. But hey, man, the oil space starting to go a little too far, too fast, I thought, and maybe back up to the upside. So taking the opposite look of President 47 there, and see what happens back to the upside with the energy space. So, yep, still cold around here, waiting for Randy so I can see him and ask him for another coffee and or to turn this heat up around here again. But 62.6 in Bitcoin. We'll see if that's cooking a little higher soon. The watch list is free. You can go grab the watch list at look at the link in description below. Grab the watch list. There's lots of names on there, including some low floaters there today. And if you go over here, this is what the watch list looks like today. We're about to go through it. All the pre-market trading, SoFi, Shopify, Figma. Are those the I just mentioned we need some coffees around here because it's so freezing. Thank you, Randy, for bringing that one there. Randy not playing around today. SK Hynix, there it is, the oil names, semiconductor names. There's Apple, there's SpaceX. We just talked about that. Meta's on here. And then what I was leading towards here was Fast Track Entertainment. We have Netflix coming this week as well. I'll talk about some entertainment names. And then Q32 Bio, QTTB, and FTRK. You don't need to fix your scanners too much here today. These are two names that we're giving you right off the jump, FTRK and QTTB. Let us know in the chat if you're looking at any of those names. Thank you, Randy, for the coffee. And let's go back over the desk with Adara and Brendo.
Yeah, good point. Netflix after the close on Thursday, which will be interesting after everything it's been through over the past couple of quarters. As Sean was mentioning, if you haven't done so yet, down below in the description, the link will get you to that sign-up page for the watch list. Has everything on it you need to know every single morning. Comes right to your inbox. Grab that. It's absolutely free. SK Hynix, top of the list here this morning. Trying to bounce here off this 150 area. It came down here twice. We didn't actually get to 150 either time, but trying to front run 150 anyways. That was a headline on Friday, which kind of foresaw what was to come here this morning, saying essentially, yeah, it was up on its debut, but, big but, everything else in this space essentially downside, and here we are, back downside for SK Hynix.
I think the other thing is, Choose, we've had a lot of volatility in the South Korean market. Apparently, yet another halt down or limit down or whatever you call it in Kospi last night. Apparently, also the South Korean /native home listing of SK Hynix here in as I mentioned earlier, South Korea, that was also having one of its worst days in, I think, almost 2 decades last night. So there's just, I think, a lot of weakness and a lot of concerns right now. We saw what happened with Samsung as well last week in South Korea in the memory space. Solid preliminary earnings, but I think because of those solid preliminary earnings, they stoked more concerns here that maybe the AI and memory space is a bit overheated. So it's interesting. It seems like a lot of fear creeping back into the sector. That could be what's happening to SK Hynix and all these other names today.
Yeah, 150 again, just below us here, guys. A couple of attempts already. Which direction do we go here?
Right now it's trying to go up, but I mean, I'm favoring short. There's no point. You can look at on Friday when we're trading under the V, there's no key prices that we're going to run into because it was like the high 160s where we bottomed out on Friday, and we're gapped so far underneath that it's almost irrelevant at this point. So you've got double or triple top at 155, depending on how you want to look at it here in SK Hynix. If you look at what's going on, and I think it's like this bounce is pretty significant. You just showed SK Hynix, but then I look at where DRAM is, barely even budging. So obviously, this has turned into a sell the news type of event. One thing to consider, because I'm looking at that 155, which is really the only level to look at on SK Hynix right now. There's that and there's VWAP. Like that's what I'll be looking for to try to work the short, because that's the first place to think. If it gets taken out and we're above 155, DRAM has got a gap. Like there's no question about it. Like you break this 58, it's got a wide gap to work into. So that's one thing to keep in mind if you're trading this. I'm going to be on SK Hynix myself because I think it was fantastic to trade in both directions. Well, I mean, the opening trade was great. I guess after it opened up, really the shorts were fantastic, I think from a directional standpoint and a momentum standpoint. But once you get to the 155, which it looks like we're going to test at the open, I'm going to look short there first.
Yeah, I was going to say, I just have it written down here on the stick. You guys can go find it. Right here, man, 155. That's the same kind of level, man. Not well received here on day 2. Day 1 was fine, but now you're down 9%. We're going to have to watch out for that 150 break. Whoops. And then we don't want to click on SK Hynix. And then you want to watch out for that 149 IPO price. So I think they're all going to come into play today, to be honest with you. I think you're going to break through that 150 marker. Then you're going to test that 149. We're going to see what kind of size is there. Now, remember, we had seen SpaceX bounce off of, we'll get SpaceX in a couple of stories, but we've seen SpaceX bounce off that 150 a bunch of times, which is the IPO price there. So now we'll have to wait to see what winds up happening with SKHY coming back into 150 again. Although, we know where this one came out as on Friday. This one came out at 170. So you're already well down here on SKY. And I think it just gets a little lower. As Darren mentioned there, the Kospi was down 15% there, and the 155 just came in, and this is what it looks like on my longer time chart there. There's 155. So here's what the trading was on Friday. Good move there, great move after hours, back up through that 170 again, and then here this morning at about 7 a.m. that was roughly that 155 top. So you got to go short for on something. And that would be right there, 155. But if you break it, then I do like the long with some support down here at 153. That's right where VWAP is right now. So we're just kind of hovering right around this level on SK Hynix. So yeah, for me, I think it's going to be a good little look there. And if you didn't like that name, but you do like the idea of going short potentially, then this DRAM is another look right now, down very similarly to what Hynix is doing. You remember Samsung, Micron, they're all wrapped up into this ETF as well. Relatively new ETF to look at, and Micron down. So, we talked about fading the events. And I already showed you what Rocket Lab looked like. We had that call, late May, early June, that Rocket Lab was a short. I actually feel the very same way about many of these memory run. And now it's just time to cool down a little bit. We've already seen the cooling down happen in names like Marvell and ARM and whatnot. Now you're going to start to see it obviously happening in Intel and probably in some other names. Like I recently bought some Qualcomm. That's not going to do well if I think that's not going to do well if I think that this whole trade is coming through to the downside. So there's Qualcomm back into almost where we bought it again as well. So yeah, some of these names starting to come out. And I think I want to try to get lighter in the space for sure on the long-term portfolio. It might start today with some selling of AMD on the top end of this trade. So I want to get out before, there might be a great long somewhere, but I could definitely see this trading back down near 450. And so anyways, Advanced Micro Devices, it's a name that we've been holding since under $100, and now it's 540. So this name just continues to mature up, and what a beast AMD has been. It wasn't even that long ago that we were underneath $100. You're talking about maybe a year and a half, but there's AMD right now holding out high. I like to short in AMD at some point. Don't know if it's today, but definitely soon on Advanced Micro Devices. All right, oil popping. Now coming back in though a little bit with oil. So we'll keep our ear to the ground on any more news, but let's go back to the desk and get the main story on oil, and then we'll talk about a potential trade in the space today.
Yeah, I was watching this comments come through from Trump. Again, he was talking on Fox for probably a half an hour or so. Equities sliding, USO was creeping higher, and now they're both heading in the opposite direction. So as Sean was mentioning, a little bit of a pullback here for USO back below this 112.50, which is essentially where we opened it. But yeah, huge pop to the upside in a big way here on the back of not only what happened over the weekend, I think the back and forth between the two sides, but to end last week, I think there was a lot of question marks as to what this week was even going to look like as far as the conflict is concerned.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, it's really interesting in a case where you have, a ceasefire where one leader, President Trump, has said it's over. Last week, Iran said it's not over, yet they're both acting like it is in fact over. So it's really hard to kind of know what's what here, Brendan. And as you and I were discussing off camera, President Trump, during that half an hour or so of comments on Fox News, said that the U.S. should actually be reimbursed for guarding the Strait of Hormuz, saying that maybe we'll call it the guardian angel of the Strait, and we should be reimbursed for that. So this is getting pretty interesting here. Again, as we mentioned, the Strait was essentially, as far as a lot of people can tell, open ahead of this conflict, before the conflict. Then the conflict starts on February 28th. Now it's closed. And now the U.S. apparently trying to get some kind of payment for it, even when they said that there shouldn't be anyone paid on any side with regards to the Strait of Hormuz. So it's getting super messy. And I'm really curious as to how Iran responds to this, because they almost definitely will.
Yeah, back and forth continues. Back and forth on the charts continuing as well. This is Wednesday, essentially, for USO. I mean, you can pull up oil. It looks exactly the same if you want to look at the futures. But this is Wednesday. We're back to these levels once again, 112.50, 113, guys, for oil.
Sure doesn't show it to
you.
Yeah. So for USO, I mean, I don't know. We had sort of looked at some different names here today. It's pulling back a little bit. It's not so much volume though this morning, right? 389,000 shares so far for USO. So I think it's an upside move at some point. It seems like we're not getting anywhere right now with this talk going back and forth there. And then I'm always bringing it back to what I just know of summertime oil and gas prices, right? And Randy's taught us that, summertime oil is a little more expensive with the blend and everything like that. So I was starting to think that oil was going to go back up to the upside just based on demand. I mean, we're traveling this weekend to drop the kids off at camp, and we got to go up north. And I saw, Sharif was up north this weekend. A lot of people traveling around, and I think a lot of you guys are traveling probably as well out there in the universe. So for me, I think USO goes higher just based on demand without even talking about out east, or Middle East. So I would just watch out again for this 111 mark. If we come into the 200 period moving average, I think I like the long down there. There's really nothing else to look at. I mean, we looked at Battle, once it was really starting to go. This is a name, again, that oil being up a little bit, you may want to look to see if Battle gets going. 2 million shares already there today. So this is a name that don't sleep on it. Battalion, very levered name that can really get going. It was sub 100 million shares, or way less than that on Battle. And market cap was like $35 million or something crazy. So this would be one to look at, BATL. So keep this on your sort of side radar here today. With a move up in oil, I could see some traders coming for Battle. And just because the space is a little bit sort of blah this morning with names moving around, I would look at Battle, breaking through this 172 marker here, the pre-market high, and then we'll see if we can get going. So yeah, 175. I mean, if you go back on this name, and I'm just kind of finding this right now, would be right into here. There's your sort of 170. This is 210. That little break area is 210. This little top right there is 180. So that's right where we're at right now. This goes back to early June. So if we can break some of these levels, every time we've broken it over the last couple of days, it started to go. So we broke it here, went up, broke it here, went higher. So if we break it again, what about a Battle long at 180, 181 or so, something like that on a break of BATL. So Battalion could be a trade to look at today. Who knows? But 3 million shares, something.
I'm looking for like that liquidity event that we had at 10:30-ish or 10:25 or whatever it worked out to. What was that exactly? Here we go. If you're looking on Friday, it's about 10:27, 10:30 at the beginning to the end. It was about 5-10 minutes long, barely even. That top was 110.50. So I feel like if you get down to there, like sometimes when you get a liquidity event, it'll tell you where the key price level is. In this particular case, even if you get my head out of the way, see how we got support at that price level on USO, and then it turns into resistance, and then it's exactly where we spiked into on Friday. So I think that's a level to look for a bit of a dip buy in USO. But if we get down to there and you're looking long, great. I'm not trying to go long up here. I think if you're looking short in anything market related, you're probably sort of in that mindset already. And that leads me to IBIT because, I mean, come on. Even when we had that little bit of a market bounce in the NASDAQ, like this is the lows in NASDAQ this morning. You just held VWAP with a bit of a higher low. Bitcoin's been only going down. So I want to continue that theme. If this tries to pop, then I'm looking short on IBIT today. You've got the 36 is an obvious level, but then you can look at 35.7 as well right in here. So I'm going to short some pops in IBIT. We do have to get way down on oil for it to be a technical long entry for me. So we're going to have to sit that one out unless something crazy happens.
Let's talk some semiconductors here to the downside once again. NVIDIA kind of leading the way here. They all look like this morning after a decent bounce back over the past week and a half or so for not only NVIDIA, but the rest of the semiconductors here still. I mean, a 20% plus pullback off the highs for NVIDIA. We, retrace maybe 50% of that starting to roll over here, but kind of an interesting idea anyways, feast or famine type idea where, the tech giants bleeding cash trying to do these build outs, as we know, 430 billion coming the way of some of these semiconductor companies.
Yeah, I was seeing here as well that at least, what's been attributed to part of this decline has to do with, again, the memory pullback too, right? We know that's been a big concern. But in terms of, maybe something to look forward to this week in the semiconductor space, ASML reports earnings on Wednesday morning. So they're the only, other than Netflix, only really big tech play that's going to be reporting this week. To my understanding, we're expecting earnings per share of $7.98, revenue about $10.28 billion. I was looking at their annual revenue recently. It's been solid growth pretty much year over year. So this is, I guess, again, a less direct semiconductor play to keep an eye on here going forward this week. But no, in terms of the Nvidias, the Intels, et cetera, it's not really a good look. Let's see if they can continue that bounce. I think a lot of it will depend on what memory, and more specifically what SK Hynix ends up doing.
Yeah, down decently here this morning. If you zoom out a little bit, daily chart I think tells a bigger story potentially, guys. A lot of room here for the Nvidias of the world. Even 202, 200 possibly here for Nvidia.
It's the one that if it came down, I think I'd like the buy if it got down there today. That's for sure. Because really, Nvidia, a lot of the story about why it was bouncing recently, you got a 19 or a sub 20 P that got put on at some of those lows. It just turned into this interesting value play for Nvidia. Then the whole, okay, well maybe selling some chips into China, and then that positive story, which I know we've heard it a million times before, and it hasn't mattered. But this one felt a little bit different, like that longish consolidation for a week or change at the 200 SMA, the bounce, the break of the trend down, goes right into the 50 here and stalls out is probably the right word, but checks up here at the 50s, at that 50 SMA. So I think the pullback today on Nvidia, I mean, if it doesn't break 206, that'd be pretty bullish to the overall move. But if it does and the market stays weak, then that 200 to 202 just gives you that curl zone. That said, you have to remember how patient you needed to be when we were dipping into that level on Thursday. It's one thing when it was just pure break, like it was pure break away from that zone on Friday, but you really needed a lot of patience on Thursday to eventually cash that. So yeah, Nvidia, get down there. It's about 200 to 202. That would be that zone. I am looking at not just, we've talked about SK Hynix to death here, but also looking at an Intel continuation to the short side here. The 110, bless you, the 110, the 108, those are both levels. Support and close, which was also resistance, give two good fade levels here for Intel. Down 3.5%, so obviously it's weaker than Nvidia. It's consolidating under the 50-period moving average. I think a test of the 100 seems like that's in store for this week on Intel, so I want to be there for it.
Yeah, so I was only mentioning, I mentioned a little bit of AMD. I think that name's been pretty hype up, held up pretty well during this hype. And maybe AMD's prone for a little bit of a move down, now down 3% there today. But, you don't want to get caught on the wrong side of this one. So if you're going to go short with me on AMD, we're going to look at, breaking out here around that 548 mark. So maybe an early short around 546 if we can jump up. We still have 10 minutes, so that would be a trade to look at there for me. I would rather, due to the fact that Nvidia had such a strong day there on Friday, I'd rather look long. Nvidia, the trend is definitely higher right now. So I don't know, man. Sometimes I get caught thinking one way on this, and then we just kind of get run over. So if we are going to look at Nvidia, I think it is probably prudent, I guess, and prone for a dump, especially if the rest of the market's going to go right around here, that 206. I don't think we want to necessarily get involved until that area. So between 206 to 205, 206 for Nvidia for the long. And I'm picking the long here because it's been strong. It's had now 4 or 5 straight up days. And then, as Neil had mentioned there, I do like Intel for a short. I think there's going to be one name to pick on Intel right now, down almost 4%, going lower underneath VWAP. Everything looks really good for a short here on INTC. And I have written down again, Joe's got the sweater on right over there right now, which is probably a pretty good call. The 76 short right here on the Qs, right? So get our knives and swords out here as we look to go a little short in the overall market, including the NASDAQ starting to get faded right now to the downside. So we'll look to see if we can get, and the reason why we're going short is pretty much because of the semis right there. A little bit of time before they're coming through with their earnings. And Darren mentioned ASML. I don't know if that'll be a good report or not, but here we go to the downside right now with the NASDAQ, and it's starting all over again. Only 6 or 7 minutes now till open. Check that, 8 minutes till open, and we're already pulled right back into the VWAP. So I'm liking the short in the market. It is going to be led by the semiconductors. The one name that I'm looking to get long, and again, talking up my own book, but I really do think Qualcomm, they had their Investors Day. I thought it was a pretty good story there for Qualcomm. Now we're going to wait to see what winds up holding or not in and around this 177, 175 area. So any dip buys, I kind of like Qualcomm. Good Investor Day. A little bit of a leak last week with SpaceX, and that came out to be not true. Elon came out and said, no, we're not building whatever it was with the Snapdragon there. So Qualcomm downside right now today. But I like the bids if we can get that in QCOM. So we'll wait. A couple good ideas there, I think, anyways, in the chip space. Banks start tomorrow, and it should be an interesting trade. They're not necessarily like, the craziest names to trade, but let's go back and find out who's reporting and what we could expect from some of the bank names tomorrow.
Yeah, typically a kickoff party, if anything else, for earnings season at a whole. So it'll give us a good gauge maybe, or an insight maybe into how things are setting up for the rest of earnings season. If anything else, everything needs a bank. So if the banks are doing good, theoretically, everything else should be doing good.
And over the course of an hour and a half tomorrow, Brendan, we're going to get not one, but 5. So JP Morgan at 6:35 a.m. approximately, Wells Fargo 6:40 a.m., Bank of America 6:45, so 3 banks, 10 minutes, pretty crazy. At 7:25 a.m., you get Goldman Sachs, followed by Citigroup around 8 a.m. Eastern. Now, this visual not out yet. This provides also the EPS and revenue estimates for all of these as of about 8:30 a.m. today, because they do change a bit. But either way, this is going to be available on XTTV Research later this afternoon. Then you get Morgan Stanley, the lone straggler, hanging out on Wednesday morning. I don't even have a time for this report yet. So interesting look here. As we've said earlier today, usually you get these kind of staggered, like a couple each day. This is the first time I've ever seen where you've got 5 in one day. So it'll be really interesting to see how these react to earnings with that in mind. Are they going to still trade individually, or are they going to kind of form more of a group?
That might be the key here, but maybe they just want to get it all out of the way and get on with things, which is kind of nice too. But LF, the group itself, this has been on quite the run here over the past couple of months, guys. Back to potentially highs here heading into these earnings reports.
Yeah, I think we get some all-time high breaks. Maybe not necessarily the day of, but certainly in the aftermath. Like Morgan, the one that we're not going to get tomorrow. I think they break out probably into the week next week. that kind of a thing. I think that's exactly, and then if the group goes one by one, sort of, I think the XLF is poised for breakout. It just did a golden cross here, so the 50 SMA crossing positively through the 200 SMA. If you're into that sort of thing, I just like the trend. The trend has been fantastic here with the XLF. That's it. I think you gotta wait till after earnings. It might have been a bigger deal when they all pass the stress tests, which they're gonna do every single time, and it's basically just how they always make sure that the tests are done. And then when they can, they're able to raise buybacks and dividends. And that's been a big positive for them. And I think that might have ended up mattering more, but that's fine. I think the numbers will still be good enough to press us through and break out the tops. I think it's more of a trade after the fact. Today, I don't know that it's really that big of a breakout. I think if you're looking in the space, you're not looking at an earnings name today. I mean, SoFi was the name that was strong. Well, so much for that 20. It's hard to break 20 if you keep pulling back into 19. I was going to tell you until just about now that SoFi was the name that looked at least relatively strong, but that just lost VWAP. So I think you're waiting until after earnings for that breakout, but XLF is a great way to play it. Double top break. I think it's going to be a good runner for the next quarter.
Look, I have SoFi written down here. I'm going to stick with it on the note here today. It's 925 right now, so we do have imbalances coming out. So Randy has turned the heat down, up finally, the air conditioning down. So we're really happy with that move right there. Yeah, I don't see it on here, but you can definitely see this is starting to come back into the downside. So we're at that 19 mark, so we may have to take an order trade real early on SoFi if we like it, but might as well give it a little bit of a rest. Only up 1.3% right now, so we'll have a quick look at that. SpaceX catching a bid. So that's going to give us a good opportunity to probably short that one. We've paid for shorts on that, looking for a 147 short. SK Hynix catching a bid as well, although that one just dropped off that 155 mark that we have written down. NVIDIA, we just talked a little bit about that one as well. That just caught a little bit of a bid. But yeah, I talked about this earlier this morning as soon as we basically came. And the first thing when we opened it up, I called up XLF there. And yeah, I was just mentioning that we are near a nice little level here coming into bank earnings. And I was also saying, I don't know if there's a sector that I'd rather be in right now that's a little protected. I think it's protected from downside. Bank earnings are going to be relatively strong. And even if like 2 hit and 3 miss or the other way around, you're still probably going to hold out all right on the XLF. So I like the banking space. I think it is prime for a move higher there. If we get a solid rate hike, I think, the banks can absorb a little bit of that. They're well capitalized. We keep talking about the stress tests. They've passed it. Wells Fargo could be an interesting name. Citigroup is the one I always hear about. So, Wells Fargo, $88. That's actually kind of surprising how well Wells Fargo's done recently as well. There's room to run to the upside on Wells. And then the best one that I always hear about is Citigroup, just from their price to earnings and the way that looks their price to book. So I would say Citigroup might be the one that has a little bit of get up to go. So I would pick Citigroup heading, if I could make one trade heading into earnings, probably buy some Citigroup down here. Has a nice hold, hopefully, of this 50-period moving average. We get back, and then on earnings day, we break through this 145, and we see what's happening here. Starting tomorrow with all of the banks should be a good one. SpaceX update coming right now. I thought that said upgrade. SpaceX right now coming. It does have that buy imbalance underneath it right now, SPCX. So maybe it's gone now, but it was. Yeah, there it is right there. So getting less and less right now. Over 1 million shares of interest off the open for SPCX. Right now, flattish on the day. Let's see if we retest that 135. You think we're going to get down to 135 back there on the desk?
100%. Matter of when, not if at this point. We had Elon pass on this interview on Friday with CNBC. That was supposed to be, an update, I think, on the timeline for SpaceX in general. I was reading this morning, there has been a lot of reports that suggesting that he is going to do that at some point this week. Whether or not it's on CNBC, maybe that's the problem. Whether it's another outlet, we'll see. But I think a lot of people waiting for this.
Yeah, I think that was kind of a bad look, him not doing that. And also the fact that he canceled so late, or postponed it rather, is the word they were using, so late. We were expecting this at 12 p.m. Around 12:14 is when they finally said, hey, it's postponed. So if you were looking for that interview, as we were, not a great look here. I think maybe leaving not the best taste in people's mouths. But let's talk about what he was doing over the weekend. So as we know, Apple suing OpenAI over trade secrets. This is a whole complicated issue. Potentially we'll get into that during the midday news segment. But regardless, Elon Musk then posts about Sam Altman, quote, he takes scamming to a whole new level. Then Sam Altman posts, quote, homeboy, you're the one selling public market investors on short-term space data centers. And this is where it gets interesting with SpaceX, because Elon Musk then replies, we start flying them next year. Maybe you can come see them if your parole officer approves. So again, beyond all of the weird escalation of this post, what I think is interesting here is the fact that in response to the whole idea that Elon is selling, people on these short-term space data centers, Elon Musk then ups the ante and says, yeah, they're going to be available in 2027. Now, a lot of the comments I was seeing are they probably won't happen.
Big week to come, guys. Good luck.
Sorry.
By VinFast right there. Go check it out. Ticker VFS on your NAS or New York, I guess, stock market, ticker VFS. Go check out VinFast. Want to thank them for sponsoring the opening bell. Yeah, so SpaceX downside immediately right there, as we were just talking about it. Interesting back and forth there between Altman and Elon Musk. We know that they have a little bit of beef anyways. So there's a move down there, 145 coming back into 143.50 now for SpaceX. Let's see how low can we go. That new all-time low break there of 143, I think is something that we're going to take if it does get down to there. Apple, by the way, holy shit. Apple all-time highs right now on Apple, just gapped huge up to 319. That's a huge gap right there for Apple, man. What a monster that name is. Glad we have a boatload of that one too. There goes Apple trying to break through 320. There it goes. That could be a good long take there. I know that, I always get involved a little too early in some of these names, but there goes Apple breaking through 320.
What a dip buy on that one. That's not going to happen anytime soon. What is actually moving to the downside? Stop me if you heard this before. Intel now 4.5 down. That just dropped $2 at the open.
There it goes.
So that's not going to be popping to give us a bit of a fade opportunity, and neither is SpaceX. Like you already mentioned here, SpaceX 45 might just be the number. So as long as it continues to drop here, might just try to fade it off of VWAP and see if we can play it into the 45. IBIT, which is the other thing we're looking at, is trying to bounce a little bit with the market. So this could come into the volume weighted average price for a little bit of a fade as well. So yeah, crazy action there in Apple to the upside. Well, good action to the upside on Apple, I should say, and Intel not looking very strong at all. Nvidia could see green on this opening candle. So it's a bit of a different story for some of the chip names. Again, Nvidia showing strength where some of the names that have been high flyers, not.
I'm going long Apple. Yeah, I'm going Apple long 320 if it does break. So watch out for that one. I'm going to go long a little bit. We'll go long almost a unit there, and we'll see what winds up happening on that break. The breaks haven't been great. So we've had a break, a fake, and then a break. If it does come back in, that 318.40 or so is where VWAP currently is, but it's been a sweet move there to the upside for Apple. And then SpaceX. What's up, Adam James? I'll check that note in a second. I'm also going to go short here, 1.4. There it is, 143 break. So there it is, man. First position right now on for the day here for myself on SpaceX. So we're going to go short on SpaceX and try to wait for the long on Apple. So far right there, not horrible. And if we do break back above, I mean, we're always looking to say where can we get out once we're in, but yeah, maybe just a high of the day break, 144, 145. There it goes right now. It's already 50 cents in the money right now on SpaceX. So we'll see. I mean, it's a very, very volatile name. So we'll ring the register if it gets a little lower, but let's sit on this just for a minute. We do have our out if it does come through. So SpaceX right now, we're in that trade.
Yeah, and here comes VWAP on IBIT. So it looks like the market does want to get far enough that we're going to get up to that volume-weighted average price. Oh, the other thing that's happening, SK Hynix just broke 155 and is headed into the highs. So IBIT shorted into the volume-weighted average price. Still not a crazy amount of action in the overall NASDAQ, but there's SK Hynix blowing out the top. Remember, in Friday, it traded with a Y. Oh, sorry, with the V at the end, so this chart's not going to be able to show that, but you have no key levels till about 168. We have Adam James abroad with a super chat. Good morning, y'all. If V clears 17, it's races time. V off to the races. It's actually halted down right now. There was a merger, which was the news piece here for V. It's halted downside with a tap of 11. So profit taking on V, it looks like at the open.
Okay, yeah, good one there. There's a couple other names. CLRO halted as well. That was a name from Friday, so that name's on the halt watch. And there's Apple. So now we're now long Apple. We get long at 09. Pretty much the high. The high was 320.10. And like I said, man, this has been faded before on breakout. So there's the break. comfortable taking it. That's 317.50 right there. So, unlike SpaceX, where, we're going to have to give it a couple dollars, this name as well, you could go, oh boy. I was going to say you could go a couple dollars there, but this just absolutely took off into the 60s right now. There it is right now. Thank you, Joe. But we're going to spin this one right now, or Andre, as we go higher now on Apple. There it goes right there. So we have the trade. Yeah, so far it's a good money trade, that's for sure. We're waiting at 320.64 right now to get a little bit more out there on Apple, and we'll see what winds up happening. But there it goes, man. We hit the Apple long. We're in it. Neil's got the IBIT short. There it goes. Yeah, let's go Apple. Nice little take there, man. Now it's 75 cents. 75 cents in the money over here. About 50 cents in the money was the most we got on SpaceX, but we don't have any outs over here yet. So, yeah, man, we'll just see how much we can hold Apple. Big surprise there for Apple today, taking out 320 immediately, up now almost $1 off of that level. So far, so good here as we continue to hold it. Thank you for watching, man. We're trying to do this every single day. So right now we got 2 positions on Apple, SpaceX. Neil's got the short and IBIT. So yeah, good luck to everybody today.
Yeah, well, SpaceX is continuing to hold under VWAP. So if it's going to do that, then I'm going to join that party. But it's SK Hynix that's got my attention right now. And really, the second it fit, look at the move that it has to the upside. It's dragging, for obvious reasons, it's going to be dragging some of the names higher. But look at DRAM. You're actually getting weakness here in DRAM. So the other memory names are not really going with SK Hynix here, and that's just making me want to wait for that fade under 155 or trend break, because as far as I'm concerned, this is still looking weak. The NASDAQ is looking weak. Actually going to try and add to the IBIT if I can here, but I'm looking for, once we break back down through 155, we're going to jump into the short on SK Hynix. The other name looks pretty bad. It's not a VWAP yet, but I can't wait forever on you, Intel. This was near the top of the list to be short. If it's not going to come in here and test some of those highs, I'm going to look for the consolidation under the usual, the volume-weighted average prices. Yeah, this chip name hasn't been good for quite some time. So 155 is really holding for SK Hynix. Unbelievable. It's actually strong this morning, SK.
All right, man. We got double barrels here, man. Both trades 80 cents now, as there goes SpaceX, man, trying to finally make that move lower. I mean, look, sometimes you got to sort of put it out on the table a little bit early, and, sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it does. And right now, we've got almost $1 now in SpaceX. We have more life than Apple right now. There it goes, man, through 321 and change. So boom, shakalaka. Now $1.13 in the money on this Apple trade. And, wasn't even really on the radar early for me. Well, it was, but not this 320 level. And there goes Apple right now. You sometimes you take the trade and you just got to play the momentum. And, we've been sitting here long enough to be able to do something like that. And then, by the way, we've hit our daily goal right now. There goes SpaceX, man. We just take $1.50 on that short. And if you're looking for something to trade off of, I mean, it's all right here. We wanted the short of the NASDAQ. That's at the lows, so there goes the short there. The 155 SK Hynix short, I'll take a look over there at some point. SpaceX was the short. SoFi was the long. We could definitely have a look over there. Go find it on the sticky note. But yeah, man, it's Apple. Both these trades are dollar clubbing right now. So, we can look for a little bit more, but why? We could just sit here and watch this name bleed. I mean, SpaceX coming to the downside pretty aggressively one more time. Let's bid some 141 flats now, see if we can able to get that. The trade that I'm most worried, I mean, I only have 2 trades on, but I would say Apple. I'm going to get some more out there right now on Apple. We have half of Apple, a little bit under half of Apple, and about 60% of SpaceX. So, yeah, man, it's daily goal. It's 938. It's been met right there. It's been such a big month. Big month of June, big month of July continues right here. Wow, Neil, there goes Apple now, $1.52 right here. Neil's got a bunch of positions, man. All shorts, I like it as the market's near the lows.
Well, it is near the lows. Everything except for Apple is going to be near the lows, and maybe something else that we haven't looked at. I'm sure some small cappers in there. It's actually just 3 positions. The way that it scrolls makes it seem like it's a million, but it's not. It was SK Hynix back through 155, so it finally broke that 55 level, although it held on to VWAP here. That's worth keeping in mind. So it just held that volume weighted average price, got some 54s. I'm going to look to the open range bottom at 52.5 as a target. IBIT, which we mentioned, which was at the volume weighted average price, goes right into VWAP and starts popping to the downside. Gonna get a bid out here in the middle of the range until we get into the low. And then Intel, just look, the chips were weak, the market's weak. Again, short underneath the volume weighted average price is a plan of action. So we got that short looking low of day at 104 is pretty much everything. I mean, that's maybe not the right. We're 1 1/3 to the downside here, but here's a name that we didn't talk about. You know, it's a different market when we go the entire morning. I don't think we mentioned once Tesla. That's just how it is. Tesla lost $400, down 2.5%, and not looking that great. It lost a 50 period on Friday. The trend is your friend till the end when it bends, and I hate to tell you, over the last week, Tesla's is to said downside. So right now, it's just a matter of, holding on to the shorts. I don't know what's going upside here. Hopefully, one of those small cappers for everybody. Maybe that V is going to continue to go. V halted down, opened back up. It's trying to break the highs, but even this is starting to struggle, everybody. So yeah, V up 150% and can't even seem to get any further. We just got Intel LOD, so we got VWAP to our target. We'll ring the register on that one. Hold on to SK Hynix. We're looking 152.5, looking about a couple of bucks on that.
Yeah, we're starting to clean out here. I'm going to post it out on Apple as we continue to look elsewhere. But yeah, Apple, we just took some out 22s, so a decent level there for AAPL. We'll wait to see what's going on. But right now, yeah, like we said, $1.65 on SpaceX, $1.20 there on Apple. So nice downside plays there as we wait to see just a little bit more. And the other name that we had written on here was SoFi. And then, oh, something just hit. Oh, boy. Okay, now we're $2 in on SpaceX. It's really starting to get real nice like right now. Let's put another bid down here. We just said we were bidding 141. Let's go to 140.20s now and see if we get that level as there goes SpaceX. Very, very clean break of the low of the day, and so that was clean. That's why we took that trade short. I'm just trying to make things as easy as possible, man. Good trade there. We had the SK Hynix, and I could have taken more trades, and we should have probably had that there at 55, so that was a good one there. Good level 55. We had written that one down, so boom, shakalaka. But like I said, man, you're only as good as the trades that you take. All right, there's Apple. We just took another out there at 321.75. So another move there as we continue to go. Obviously, I'm going to be at the highest spot we've been at all day right now. We can check on what's going on in USO just to look somewhere else. Right now, not much going on there. We did like the battle break of maybe 180 if that was coming through. It does not get there yet, so BATL not doing a whole heck of a lot. And then the SoFi, I mean, with the market going down, we've kind of ignored all the longs except for the ones that we're now $4 in the money on these two trades. SoFi, boom. They can never hold bids, man, SoFi. So, yeah, I'm not going to get involved with that right now. SoFi once again loses the bid. As like I said, I think it happens every single day that winds up happening. But,
oh my,
yeah,
Robin
man, there
Hood.
It is, man. SoFi downside.
Robinhood was up $2.50 off of the open and just gave it all back right away. Yeah, last I checked, that's not good. But as Adam James abroad says, boom shakalaka for V. And I'll do that so I don't mess up the 3 Vs on VEEE. Halted upside 1357, halted literally at the high of the day. Sorry, 1356, the tap is 1357, doesn't really matter, a distinction without a difference. But that's what's up, everything else is down, everybody. Low of the day just hit. So I don't want to hit the power up thing, I gotta hit the market is red. What are we doing here? It's red. IBIT just broke the LOD. We got our target already on Intel. SK Hynix, however, at least that's holding on to the lows. Yeah, that just bounced off the low. So I gotta respect it and see if we can't. I can't let this one get back above VWAP. It's actually putting in a higher low despite the market breaking the low. So Intel got to the lows. IBIT's breaking through the lows. SK Hynix, believe it or not, is trying to hold on to the volume-weighted average price. So all the shorts have worked, but this one at least a little bit relatively strong. I'm going to try to respect that. I'm a trend line respecter, if we like to. I love trend lines. So when I see this happen, there's your low, there's your open range, there's your hold it again. I'll take the $1.50 scalp and just move on to what is the next. IBIT, different story. This is structurally. Hold on to it, short it every single time it gets into the volume-weighted average price, and then looking for about 35 even as the next out here on this thing. Let us know what you guys are watching, because if it ain't fallen, then it's worth the look. Apple, I think still probably looks strong.
Apple's
Remember,
a
it's about the
monster.
AI play. Everything that's related to AI sucks, and Apple's insulated from it. It is what it is. But the viewers didn't seem to like that out of the Mag 7. I still won't understand why.
Yeah, the viewers are the viewers, but yeah, right now, man, it's just a big one there for us on Apple today, man. I mean, we are just over the moon with once again with today's trading. SpaceX, here we go. We're almost at the 2 times our daily goal. I just put a bid at 40. Maybe it's gone. I'm going to buy a little bit more there. We'll punch a little bit out there at 60. I switched my bid from 20s into 40s. I just don't know if it wants to go too much lower than where we are right now. And, you know, just talking about the reason why I'm saying those daily goals and things like that is like it's 9:45 right now. You have no idea what this market's going to do. Sometimes that opening rush gives you the great opportunities that you're looking for. There it is. We get a 40 fill, 41 fill, I think it was there, 41s, yeah. So sometimes I don't know what this day is going to bring. So I'm trying to get out a little bit here as we've sort of rinsed to the downside. And, you know, if you can finish your day in the first 15 minutes, go spend some time with your loved ones on such a beautiful day outside. That's not a horrible idea here into the summertime trade. So, but here we go, man. We're still going to keep on watching all of these names. Let's see what happens with SpaceX. Apple, you know, it's been a great move higher. We're out. I only have a third left, a little bit less than a third left of this one. I just took another piece at 322 there. With the market really starting to bleed down, man, we called the short today. We have it written down as a TQQ, which is the NASDAQ market. We have this short written down today, but we don't have it. That never really gave us an opportunity to short it, except for maybe right around here where it danced a bit. And now you're starting to make new lows there on the TQQ. So we do want to say thank you to everybody, including you, Lunch99, as you're here almost every day. I notice you. You got that Tesla short. So yeah, boom shakalaka. Glad you're playing the short with us, man, as many of these levels are starting to come into play one more time here. So yeah, that's why you got to try to cover where the covers are there and try to make the money when you see the opportunities. And you sure did there, Lunch99 or 911, as that's moving to the downside again. Apple's still trying to go higher. We'll have to wait on that. Its new high right there is 322.50, which is right here right now. So that to me, I'm at 48s right now. You know, maybe you can just wait. You know what? Let's just wait for it. I'm at 48. Let's just wait. There it is. Let's go, man. That's your hot dog trade of the day for me is Apple. Well, they're both $2 plus. But yeah, man, we got some good, relatively good amount of shares in on these. So able to do it nicely there. And by the way, thank you so much to Randy, man. It's more, I can feel my hands again. Starting to make a little bit of sense now. Right there. What's up, Roger Noonan? Good thing you're having a good day too.
Adam James Abroad just noticed the 450,000 float on V. Yeah, well, Twin V or any of these small cappers, it's really just, that's what a lot of times the movement comes down to. It's more the float than it is the short float. It's halted again. It just halted to the downside. This might halt half a dozen or more times today, let's be real, given how small the float is. It is not the only one which is running. AGEN, the small capper, Agnes. This one was, I believe they raised money, but it doesn't matter. They're breaking out the tops. This was a bit of it was like a 41 million flow, so a lot larger of a float. It's up 80% now, but this has just been trending and trending and trending. At no point has this really slowed down. It's actually pretty orderly trading. That looks really, really good. There for AGN, holding on that $5 into that VWAP price. Man, sometimes you get out for a scalp trade, it's like, oh yeah, but it's going to go lower. One of the 3 shorts for myself that did not break the low was SK Hynix, and that just took out the high. So you got to be able to read the room a little bit here. The market's weak. Take the money where you can. There's it holding the trend line and breaking and continuing to go. There's no levels to look at for SK Hynix until you get to about 166.
Ooh.
That was Friday's 166-ish. I'll have to go back and look at the charts. One of my charts wasn't working to be able to look at it on Friday. But there's also the even dollar at 160 to watch. I'm still going to favor the short, but it doesn't mean that I'm just going to hammer in at every single price. No bounces yet in IBIT, so we haven't done any reloads in IBIT. It would have to get to about 35.4 here. Bitcoin trades at 62. So I guess we bounced off just in front of 62,000 for the lows right now. So yeah, market's still looking pretty weak. I don't know what to tell you, but at least SK Hynix has got some strength. Maybe that'll give some juice to Micron. Nope. Like SK Hynix is literally breaking out. I pull up Micron, I pull up DRAM, and these things still look like dogs. It's just an SK Hynix story. This is going to hit that 160. That's why you got to be able to get out. When you get a fade and the overall structure is still a bit of a long, you got to watch for those bounce zones on the trend. This is flying now, squeezing higher as SK Hynix.
Yeah, I saw 158. Good levels there coming through. You know, what's really been the squeeze for me of the day here, and we keep talking about the same name, but Apple is now at 323. Like, you know, took that long break there and was going to give it, we talked about it, giving it to view up at the time was 319.50 or 318.50, something like that. We never had to worry about this. One never went against us. Now there it goes, man. It is just a monster move now for Apple, up to 323. All-time highs coming through there on Apple. What a week and a half AAPL has had, that is for sure. I have to check to see. I don't know if we got the lunch menu this week. I'll have to see if I did.
I don't.
All right, man. Here's what's happening in the broader market with a little bit of an early look on happening now, right now. You know, AMD downside. I said that was a POS, and we should have got out of that last week, and I don't know why we didn't. Definitely want to get out of that today, if not right now. Intel down. What is this one? SNDK down 5% today. WDC down 8%. Or sorry, SNDK down 10%. WDC down 7-8% as well. There's your Micron trade as well. Google not having a great day. Softy, nice upside there. Palantir, Netflix, some of the software names starting to get back there to the upside. Come on, man. Let's get back down now. SpaceX, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Tesla down 3%. Here's a space that I'm always talking about, and I think AMAT, we did say that ASML is going to be coming later on this week as well. Vernova down 2%, Lamb down. Some of these names, Caterpillar down today, getting hit. You know, the space that I'm most excited about, we did talk about, I thought that the a prime space heading into earnings was going to be the financials, but man, do I really like this space, including AbbVie, J&J, Eli Lilly. It's funny because these are the three names pretty much. I don't own anything else really here. Maybe I own a little bit of Pfizer. I can't never remember. But Eli Lilly, J&J, and AbbVie, the three names that I've got in this space. So, wow.
It was an upgrade on AbbVie.
Was it? We really like that one, man. Apple now, we're now guys, we're $5 now in the money on these two trades, and they're just the simplest trades, man, Neil. This is what we like, man. Simple trades going to the upside. Apple breaking 320. You don't get any easier than that one. Straight squeeze to the upside there. SpaceX a little difficult, but we knew he liked the short. That was a pre-market break as well. One in on both of these as we continue to go upside, man. And that is what it is right now. We're just going to sit here and watch it, man. The money's just pouring in right now. Apple, $3. SpaceX, $2.50. And the thing about SpaceX is, just trying to get back into the lows right now. So let's go SpaceX, let's go Apple. Two bangers to start the morning.
Yeah, I mean, it's percent moves all over the place. That's all you're looking for at this point. The Nasdaq's moving down 1.7, and it looks like we're going to close in that gap. We just broke overnight lows on the Qs, everybody. So, I don't know, buckle up, Buttercup. Looks like we're headed for another test of 2%. That seems like it's the litmus test every single day. If you're looking at the QQQ, 713 change where we are right now, and then highs on Wednesday at about 711. So that would be the next gap. If we're not bouncing here, then it looks like we are headed down to there. So for me, really just going to hang on to that intel. I see Rabbit in the chat saying, please let me, you don't want us to miss Eli Lilly. Yeah, couldn't really read that message. It was kind of all over the place. But I know you're probably just chewing through really quickly and trying to get it out there that Lilly is running. Well, tech week, where will you find strength? Rotation has been, this is a good space. I like AbbVie. They just got an upgrade this morning, and they're looking fantastic. Eli Lilly is always going to be good. Sean had already mentioned this from J&J. You can look sometimes at the ETFs, and another one to maybe just throw into the quiver. Merck just went red to green, and it's also breaking out. It's in the midst of a nice technical pullback. I'm only bringing this one up because I was looking at some charts in the space, and this one's pulling into prior highs. So it looks like a good technical bounce level for Merck. Doesn't mean I like it more than Eli Lilly. I don't even own the stock, but I do like the look of the Merck chart for potential bid. That fly needs to die. He's been flying around. We'll get him. At some point, we'll get him. But SK, before we get back to the super chat, SK Hynix did not reach 160. I did say that was the level I was going to look for next for a short. Got to about 159 and then pulled a crazy reversal candle here. So it's still very volatile. I'd like to wait for this to break the overall trend. It doesn't seem like it's anywhere. If it does that, it's such a flat trend line in here that it'll be way under VWAP by the time it does it. So either 160 or a little bit of patience to be played for the next play in SK Hynix.
All right. Yeah, not much else going on. Oh, I want to look at SoFi. There's Randy. I was going to ask for another coffee there, and I forgot to put it in the chat. Well, I did put it in the chat, but I tagged you.
You did
wrong.
put it in the chat.
Right there. So what's up to Randy there? At Randy there. That's the wrong Randy, but I put it in the chat anyways. Yeah, SoFi absolutely bleeding down, man. I mean, this was another name, and we talk about the sticky note. We talk about, taking the trades on. And by the way, SpaceX about to break 140. We wrote down $18.90 to $19, right? But as you could tell, sometimes you got to put your thinking cap on. When that name was coming back in there right off the open, we got a little bit of a bump up there, and it came right back into $18.90. Thankfully, we were on other names, but that just bled right through that level. So, that pre-market, I think if you were going to take it, you would have had that easy out there. But, I don't know where SoFi is eventually going to land. But down to 1840, does not be able to hold these bids right now as we look at SpaceX at that 140. It's having a whole hell of a hard time breaking through $20. So that hasn't been here all year. $20 on SoFi, looking pretty darn good right now. Let's go, man. We have more shares on SpaceX than we do on Apple, but it's close. We did take more initially on Apple than we did on SpaceX. So Apple, we just got some more out there at 322. And here comes Apple. Here comes the market. I'm going to take another offer here, low 321s. I mean, we're just trying to absorb some of this blood that may be spilling in this market. Now down 1.5%. And here we go, man. Honestly, what else can we say about this so far here today? It's SpaceX, and it's going to the downside right now pretty aggressively. So, more to come. We'll see. But so far, not the greatest trade on the long for SpaceX, hence why we're short. Now, let's see what's going on with SK Hynix. Maybe we can get that short. We like the 155. That could come in again. SK Hynix potentially there. But right now, we are just loving life with this short here. Let's see what happens with SpaceX breaking through right now. 140. We're $3 in on this one. We've already taken $3 on Apple. It's been a hell of a day here so far. Micron downside. Yeah, I've already said, man, like AMD, already ashamed to not be completely out of this one, but it's only down 5%. We've been battling on this one over and over and over again. I guess we don't really need to worry till it breaks $500. That could actually happen today. So watch out for a 500 break there, potentially on AMD. But oh boy, it's the hot dog trade of the day for me anyways. There's now SpaceX, as clean as it gets, man. Low of the day break. Now here comes 140. We can say see you later to that one. I'm bidding 140.10 right now on SpaceX. Just got to refresh my computer here. I just lost memory again.
That's what happens sometimes. It's like there's too much action in the market, and that is causing all the quotes to go nuts. I just tried to get a trend break on SMCI, and look at the candle. SMCI, like you're seeing stocks move around like 1.5%. SMCI just dropped to the low and did 1.5 points on like a single candle on the 3-minute. Like it was just right down. Like you're seeing stocks, like the entire morning might be it moving that much. And I'll try to play it on any kind of a bounce. There's another name we like short, but it never got to my level. I like 28.5 for sure. I like that 28.5, but it just broke down underneath Friday's low. So any pop available, this is going to be one. I see a lot of people are liking this Micron breakout of the volume weighted average price. It rejected VWAP earlier. It's at VWAP now, but I'm not really seeing the break. One thing that works in its favor is SK Hynix is uptrending. There's no doubt about it. SK Hynix is in an uptrend. I still like it short, but it's got to break that uptrend to want it to want it again. Like you go 1 for 1 on a short, and it happens to be trending higher. To me, that's like getting away with the trade. So if you're not breaking out on SK Hynix breaking down on SK Hynix, I'm probably going to stay away. Micron, my first thought is DRAM could be the way to go here, because if we uptrend on SK Hynix, then DRAM is probably a better long than Micron in some ways, because you kind of get the best of everything. But it needs to break 58. You got to break out that high, show that you're holding that volume weighted average price. As for IBIT, which I'm still in that IBIT, it's still holding trend lower, about to break the trend line, and I'd probably jump out and then reload into the volume weighted average price. So it's pretty close. I'm trailed near the bottom here. We'll jump out, take our 3 wins, and then look for the next available trade. I really thought it was going to be SK Hynix, and that just doesn't seem to be it. And one thing that does work well and bode well for the markets has been USO. We saw all morning long, and most of the morning, and we were pulling back. There was a bounce off of the open. Oil tried to go. Now it's going to fail again. So underneath that volume weighted average price, we're kind of trending back into the downside. This is somewhat resembling what we saw on Friday, outside of that crazy volume spike, where we were just stair-step down in oil futures. So worth watching USO. If it gets back to the bottoms, could be a nice bounce spot for the markets. Let's go to Adara. It's time to see what's happening now.
Ooh,
What's happening right now is the market attempting to recover. And actually right now, certainly above those pre-market highs. We gap down as the tensions here between the U.S. and Iran heat back up. We'll get to that in a minute, but we'll take a look at the NASDAQ, which is not recovering to nearly the same degree, or I think with the same velocity as what we're seeing with the SPY. Contrary to what we saw with the S&P 500, the NASDAQ here actually still below that pre-market high. So we're going to have to wait and see if these actually continue to trade differently from one another, or if they start to show some confluence in terms of how they're trading. Let's take a look at USO now. As I mentioned, strikes here from both the US and Iran aimed at each other over the weekend. Then we had some comments coming this morning, around just after 9:30 a.m. The Revolutionary Guard spokesperson for Iran reportedly saying that the U.S. has, quote, seriously jeopardized the security of global oil and gas supplies by, quote, interfering in the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran asserting their authority and control over the Strait of Hormuz. So these tensions certainly are going to continue. AAPL pulling back a bit from these highs here, but nice push up here for Apple, suing OpenAI here for stealing hardware and trade secrets, allegedly. So hardware trade secrets theft allegations from Apple against OpenAI on watch. Last but not least, SK Hynix and Focus, SKHY, second day trading in the U.S., but its native listing in Seoul, South Korea, had a pretty rough day in the overnight session. Kospi also rough session there. So weakness here still for some of these South Korean names, and I would say memory absolutely still on watch with SK Hynix in mind. We're going to send you back over to the guys.
Hey traders out there, there's an offer. Your broker's not giving it to you, and it's here. The markets are really active, as you can obviously see, and the traders that are seeing it know that this environment creates opportunities. The big moves mean more setups and more momentum, but if you're trying to take advantage of those conditions, you need a couple of things: discipline and access to capital. That's where Trade the Pool comes in. Instead of being limited by the size of your own account, traders can access the firm's capital and focus on executing their strategy and managing risk. There's no more fear of blowing up your personal account. No more moving your stop loss too early because you're worried about your own savings. This is what we call limited risk trading. So if you want to take advantage of the volatility in today's markets without risking your own capital, visit tradethepool.com. Well, shout out to them. Scan the QR code you see right in front of you if you are interested. Shout out to Trade the Pool.
Okay, yeah, shout out to Trade the Pool. We keep on getting a bounce off of SpaceX. So I got some more Apple out as it's trying to rip through and get into the 25 period. I'm going to buy a little bit more if it comes into 320, but after that, man, we're going to stop and see if Apple does bleed down. We did get a nice little rebound there, and I think it's a lot of you talking about the Micron move back to the high side there, and yeah, that was a good one, man. Got into 900, right back up $20 from 903 or so into 927. So definitely a good little look there for the Micron rebound. We'll see if that winds up holding. And, you know, just looking at DRAM, we can always look at different names, of course, but we always talk about maybe the ones that are moving might be good ones. That VEEE, we did get some super chats about this earlier. Shout out to Adam and everybody else there. A couple halts so far there today, trying to hold out through that $11 mark. And it's already broken out through. So right now, V trying to take out 750. That was the big level there. Does do that. Now we get up into 14. I guess that was maybe a pre-market level. But here, okay, just on this look right now, here comes SpaceX, man. Big trade alert. This has really been, I've said this over and over again, and it's been, I don't know what's up with me and SpaceX right now, but we've been really hitting this name, and it's, as I said, it's part of the best days I've had has been trading SpaceX, and we're going to do it again here today on the short of the pre-market low break of 143, just one time in. And right now, thank you so much, Randy. That's my hands are starting to get some feel back into it, which is nice. There go the break of 140 imminent potentially there on SpaceX. I just got 140.10s. So the low of all-time low right now on SPCX coming into play quicker than maybe we thought. And I don't know, like when I was up here and this was 225, man, people were still saying when moon, and now we're saying when get back up there into this level. And we mentioned taking profits up there, but we only had a very small amount at 170, and that's still where I'm at. So we're gonna wait to see about an average in back sometime around now on SPCX, but see you later. It's gonna, that was easy. That just absolutely, wow. Talk about the trade. We do all these videos, man. We could do one today just on this trade alone. Like, there's the break of the pre-market low. We've seen SpaceX downside play. Easy trade, man. We wrote it down on here. There it goes, man. Now $4, Neil, in the money on SPCX. We're just going to sit back and chill and watch this name bleed down.
Exactly. It's been a perfect morning so far. You're seeing it here. All the shorts have worked. A single long has worked. But the reality is...
Well, no, Apple's been the...
No, I was saying a single long is worked. I'm sure that...
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
No, I'm sure there's other things where longs have worked out for you. I was hoping maybe V would be doing a little bit better for some of the small cap traders out there. Okay, fine. So maybe not that, but maybe you're long like Lululemon or something like that. But everything else is headed to the downside. I actually am going to get filled on my stink bid today on SpaceX.
Yeah, looks like it.
So we've been talking about how there was 150 and there was 135 because that was the actual issue price on SpaceX. So I'm going to get hit, and it's going to be in Toronto. Over here because I'm in the CDR and I'm probably going to get more because 135 is that price. We did say this, 135, it could get defended by the underwriters. Could is the word. Just because that was the issue price, it's been a while, it doesn't necessarily mean there's going to be a big bid there. But the first time it tests it, probably going to try to go 01 long if there's a fill at 01. Maybe there's a fill at 10s or something like that. But it'd be a hard stop underneath 134.9. I've been saying that for weeks, but that's certainly going to be the case when it gets there. It's a different story taking a long trade with a tight stop as opposed to like DCAing in the personal account. Like those are two different things, obviously. But yeah, hang on to your butts, hang on to your shorts. Still want to take one more shot at SK Hynix. That's about the only other thing I'm looking at, but it still refuses to break the trend. SK Hynix is holding on to VWAP like an absolute champion right now. So until it breaks that, I guess we'll have to back away and not try to fight the stock. If there's one place where there's strength right now, it seems like it's like memory names. Micron's actually holding above. One of these things has got to break trend line. Maybe DRAM wants to break the trend line. That could go. Maybe DRAM just wants to break the trend before SK Hynix does. That's a worthy pivot, I think. Take the one that goes. That's the idea.
Yeah. Just take the one that goes. And wow, Netflix trading higher. Okay, we'll have a look at Netflix.
I guess that's that relative AI stuff.
Yeah, maybe. We just got 138.20 right there, man. That's almost $5 right here on the SpaceX short. Still working out, man. Palantir, potential. Palantir's not. I'm trying to look somewhere else. There, it's funny because my net is almost like the same it was, like 20 minutes ago or so, because Apple's fallen back in a little bit. We've done well to take out. I still have more shares in SpaceX than we do in Apple, but this has come back down a little bit. So as this comes back down, so does I'm gonna get another piece out here of Apple. Just because if we get something in the 20s, then we'll take that out. SpaceX right now breaking through 138 and just getting lower and lower and lower. So what are the names that are up? We will talk about happening now. We did that a little bit. Wow. Holy man, this is starting to get real exciting. Like, will we see that 135 today? Probably. 137.75 now. We're short right now at 143 as this name just bleeds downside. The only thing left for me to do is just go over and just crush SK Hynix now. But we're going to wait on that one as we're just over the moon with what's been happening right here, right now. We did talk to want to talk a little bit about Softy. That's losing its bid as well. Trying to finally go red here on the day is Microsoft, only down, not only up 0.2, as there goes that one. Another name that I should be getting out of at any moment now would be Uber. Don't love this name. That gets to $76, and that falls on its face there. Bye-bye goes Uber right now. NFLX would be the other name that I just mentioned to you. A little higher there today from what I saw, up 2.5% right now. Looking to take out 75.40. If it does do that, giddy up on Netflix right now. But yes, I mean, look, last week, man, the only trade we had at this time sometimes was Nvidia. Now we've only got these two on, and looking to put on some others. J&J is a good position in the longer term account. That's pulled back a little bit. I don't mind averaging into this one if this does dip down. We're long at 220 on J&J, 223 I think it is. That's had a nice little run up. I don't want to get out of it, but if we can come back into 250, I think that one might be worth a little bit of a buy. And then in the power space, right, CEG, been buying some of that a little bit lately. What did I just get filled on? Oh, my Apple just got filled out there, which was good at 321.20s. Their CG up 1%. IREN, though, getting hit to the downside. Another name that I most recently bought was, well, in Bitcoin now, 62.30. I know you're short IBIT, so that might be a good call there. We'll have to wait to see what happens with IBIT.
Hood's getting molted.
We are, yeah, Hood, yeah. So good little, Hood and SoFi, man. Those ones got crushed. SoFi, man. Those ones got crushed here today.
Moked is bad.
Yeah, Moked is not good. This is my best fill right there, 130. So that dropped into 137.60. Let's just put a bid down there. We'll put a bid at 80, see if we get that. And I'm going to take one more fill here. Maybe it's gone a little too far, too fast on SpaceX, down 5%. Let's see if it does get a little bit exciting down here near that 135 marker for SpaceX.
I jinxed it. I'm not filled.
No, it's coming. It's coming, though.
I know, but the hilarious part was like, it looked like very imminent, like in the next 5 minutes, I was going to get this stink bid in my personal account, but it's not happening. I think it's going to get there. It's just a matter of time. No, in going back, we were just talking about like Robinhood and SoFi. SoFi, it's starting to get interesting. If you like mean reversion trades, this type of a move down on the 15-minute is obviously very intense. If it gets to $18, that's just a level on SoFi. So I'd look for a bounce there. There's also a bit of a pivot zone in here where it's trying to bottom out at 18.25. So this looks not bad. Like it's putting in a decent higher low. If it can maybe break and close above 18.50, that gives a little bit of a long here to play into the volume weighted average price. So SoFi, it's on the radar now. It wasn't on my radar before, but it's on my radar now, just given how crazy the move is. Nvidia is holding VWAP. So this is starting to look pretty good for Nvidia. It led the way last week, and I think it can do the same thing here again today when it comes to the chip names. IBIT, we trailed out of it. I'll work back in terms of VWAP. If we get to VWAP, maybe 35.4 or so, or we wait until we get the double top at 35.5. So that's a couple of things that we're watching. SMCI hasn't really done as much since it broke the trend. SMCI. So as long as that one holds a lower high, I still like the structure of SMCI. Want it to play back down into the LOD. It's still putting in those lower highs, but once it stops that, it would actually be a trend break and maybe even a reversal if it gets back above the prior day lows.
Yeah, prior day lows. I was just going to load this up so I can show you guys. We don't have Sharif in here today, but Sharif's morning note and membership promo time. I mean, this is something that we've worked really hard on over the last little while. It's, Sharif's morning note. A lot of you have liked the sort of the extended information that we're giving you, on stocks and on what we're potentially going to trade the rest of the day. It's his morning note, and it's absolutely fantastic. Looks a little bit like this. It's only $5 a month, and what you're going to get here is everything that you're seeing right here, right now. All the technicals of different trades. Nvidia. This is a past day, but Nvidia right onto here. AMD talk. Key levels. Uber. What's sort of going on with them? DRAM. SK Hynix listing right there. So this is from Friday's note as well. LMT. You get all of these stories all wrapped into one little fine. It's not little. It's like 12, 13, 14 pages daily there. And we want to thank Sharif for that note. And it's coming right there. You get the story, the technicals, the trade plans. $5 a month. You get to be in our chat with some cool, funky emojis. We like to call you guys out there for all of the members that are in the chat. It's on YouTube. You can go get that right now, and it'll allow you access to that morning note. That's a daily thing. It's only $5, 20 cents a day. Cannot go wrong trying to get that. You're wondering like, hey, what's the story with SpaceX? That's in the morning note, right? Key levels, why we're shorting it, or maybe not why we're shorting it, but information on what SpaceX is up to. And then you can see if that matches with your studies and go and trade these names with us. So definitely for $5 a month, we want to thank everybody that's always part of our chat, both here on YouTube and on Twitch, TikTok, everywhere where you are. Hopefully we are as well. But yeah, so just to talk about what we have left on some of these positions right now. So I still have 20% left of SpaceX, and I have 10% left of Apple. So that's it, man. 2 small trades left, waiting to see what happens next. But it's Apple, it's SpaceX. They're both a little small on the size right here. SKY, this is going to be my next trade. Probably I would say, I mean, I like to look at names that are moving, but we looked at the 155 short. Right now, that's holding. So we have seen SpaceX on day 2 also moon a little bit. And I'm not going to talk about SpaceX, the position that I have, just looking at what this did on the daily. So remember, SK Hynix, if you're looking at it and you're like, okay, there's only 1 day of data, it had a V at the end of it. And now, the proper shares are now trading. So it's SKHY right now. But look at day 2 on SpaceX, right? It wasn't day 3 where we started that move lower. So potentially here today, good to get out of the short and maybe wait to see if the short does play out, because right now it's playing long again. Even though it's still down 6%, doesn't look like it's a long, right? But since the market's opened up, we've really had, and I know Neil went short there was successfully, but we've only really had bids underneath this. It does come right back into basically those pre-market starting points and give you that jump spot. So 153 is sort of where the jump scare happened on SK Hynix, and now we're going to wait to see if it does retest again. I still love this 155 short, but it's definitely not as good as it was before. But at least this time, it's a break of VWAP, and maybe that gets this name motoring to the downside. I just think the claws are right now out for SpaceX. So that's it here. We'll get it figured out. And here we go, man. 138.50 downside right now for SpaceX. We've been doing some covers, 10% left of Apple, 20% left of SpaceX, and just waiting for that next trade. So keep putting them in the chat. If there's anything you guys want us to look at, day trading is here as well. And some of those names, here we go, GFUZ. So GFUZ just halted. Again, JZ, JZ. Shout out to Eminem showing up at Jay-Z's concert there. Apparently that was awesome. So right there, 1150. Good level there for, I don't know if there's a joke there or not. MI, another name. V hasn't halted. This one may halt. It's finally starting to get going again right now. A couple up candles right here. This is getting some velocity back in the name now for VEEE. We can see if that name wants to get going a bit. Looks like it may. VEE upside through $12 could be a decent opportunity to take that long. It halted right in around these levels. So here it goes. Wow, we just mentioned it at 12. There goes 1220, 1230 now on V as that continues to go higher.
All about the V. V is for victory.
Yes, sir.
Everybody. One of my... you probably never watched that.
Wait a minute, what's Apple? Are we getting some bad quotes here?
Something just happened in the market. Adara,
my
what
earpiece is just not good
Adara,
today.
what up? I was literally in a cruising trend break, and then the next thing I know, we were breaking LOD. So here's what just happened. This is USO. So big spike up. Remember there was one like this? We're going to go to Adara. Last time this happened, it was a fade. Adara.
President Trump apparently reinstating the Iranian blockade. I repeat, secret reports that Trump has reinstated the Iranian blockade. I'm going to look here for a Truth Social post. If I see anything else, I'll let you know. But either way here, looks like the Iranian blockade has been reinstated. USO rocketing here to new session highs.
So it's a good thing. We just talked about having 10% left of Apple, so all good. We tried the 320, we got out once it broke, so we'll lose 20 cents on the last piece right there. It's another one. But it seems like we might be getting a plane crash in right now as this market definitely giving it back up. If anything, man, we could have stuck with our guns there and shorted. I'm going to go long again right now off Apple just to see if that, we've seen this back and forth. I don't think it's a taco trade per se, but let's just wait to see what happens now with Apple. 320, 319. What was the low there? I don't necessarily want to give it to the very low, but that's 3.9. Yeah, let's go to 319, like 79 or so. There, we'll see what happens now with Apple as we get right back into the long on this name. And I don't want to. Like I'm saying here again, I don't want to discount what's happening. Unfortunately, I don't have any news working in my ear, but we do have Adara back there. So any sort of a change up here, we'd be love to hear any. Oh, we did get a little bit of an out there on Apple in the 30s, but now it's falling back in one more time. So let's stay tuned to Adara right now for more news on the breaking story now of Trump and Iran.
Here's the True Social post here, guys, from President Trump about this blockade. The Hormuz Strait is open, all caps, and will remain open, all caps, with or without Iran. We are reinstating the all caps Iranian blockade, so named because it is only stopping Iran ships or customers from entering or leaving. All other countries will have the fair and open use of the strait. The USA will be, from this point forward, known as, all caps, the guardian of the Hormuz Strait, quote unquote, but as such, and as a matter of all caps fairness, will be reimbursed at the rate of 20% on all cargo shipped for any and all costs necessary to do the job of providing safety and security to this very volatile section of the world. The process information will begin immediately. Thank you for your attention to this matter, exclamation point. So basically, guys, as President Trump kind of alluded to during his Fox News interview this morning, which went on for about half an hour or so, the U.S. is now going to be the guardian of the Hormuz Strait, which means that they will be reimbursed to some extent for their services that Trump says they're going to be providing. Again, this is going to be the rate of 20% on all cargo shipped. Apparently, they're still working out logistics, so as we learn more, we'll let you know. But yeah, it looks like the guardian of the Hormuz Strait is here. Back to you.
All right, man. The guardian, guarding the galaxy. I mean, what this guy's guarding everything right now. This guy's got the Space Force going on too, as well, does Trump. And now they've got the guardian of the galaxy thing going on here. So it should be a real fun little bit of time here for everybody trading with us. And, no matter where you're trading, we hope that you're having a good time. Make sure you do hit the like and the subscribe. So based on that news, that doesn't really sound, obviously it's a change of game plan right here for the United States. They were trying to open up sort of the strait a little bit. It seems like it's now going to be closed. And, the one thing that you got to say about Trump is like, you're not playing around. If you sort of break that ceasefire and he don't like it, then you have some explaining to do. And right now we're going to have to wait to see there. Whoa, yo, what up, Donald? As it keeps on going to the upside right there. Now USO blasting higher. We just did take advantage. I took out half of Apple there. I just wanted to make back what we lost. So we did get in there at 320, basically flat. And then we got dropped out at 85 when it broke. So we lose 15 cents there. And we're making we're making exactly that now, up 25 cents now on Apple. And we'll see if that one can get us back to the promised land on AAPL. I'm going to take one more fill here in the 40s if we're able to get that, which we may be able to. And there it goes again. So just ahead of VWAP. Let's see, Apple was cruising. I was just about to get the rest out, to be honest with you, up here like we've been doing. And then all of a sudden, kablamo to the downside on that story. So we definitely want to get ourselves back into Apple at those lows. So stop out just in case. Get back in as we start to go a little bit higher. One more out at 40, and then we'll let the rest sort of breathe out a little bit here. Apple, good take on the low side of this one. And then we are bidding 139 on SpaceX. See if we get a little bit more out there, as that's at the 25 period moving average. So I'm still bidding 139. We'll see if we get that fill or not. But right now, you know what? I might just punch this. Here, let's take a fill at 15s, and we'll cancel our 139, and then we'll just take another out right there as it's at the 25 period. So getting less and less into all of the positions now. However, we do have more shares actually in Apple.
What's crazy, this is different from Friday in USO. So I was just staring down Battle and Nvidia and a couple of things for reversion, but unlike on Friday, when right around the same time, we got a volume spike in USO and it almost immediately reverted. This is a bit different. It's actually holding up a little bit better. So the next 5 or 6 minutes after have been a little bit more buying. It still could turn the corner. If it ends up being a topping tail at 114, that can be a play. I'm saying Battle right now because it's looking a little weak. It's not really, this isn't breaking out for some reason. So if USO fails at 114, Battle is a short with a gap. There's a gap to 150 here, which from 175, that's a good chunk. So this is the one I'm going to look for. If we fail 114 on USO, Battle is actually free locates here at Real Trading, so we can actually go short this for free. I'd want it through VWAP. 150 would be the eventual target. I think the long play that I'm watching is going to be Nvidia, but now Nvidia, a second ago when I was looking at Nvidia, it seemed like it wanted to get back above VWAP. That's no longer the case. So I'm going to stay away from that. I think the next for me is going to be battle, especially with USO not following through 114 just yet. We're going to go to Adara for the small cap recap, of which this is one, but there have been many, whether it's V or some of the other names that the chat has been all over. Adara's got them for you.
We're going to be covering VEEE here first. This is Twin V PowerCats trading higher after announcing a merger agreement. They're going to be combining specifically their boating operations with a subsidiary of USFM over in Greenland. So the market cap here, $5.73 million. Float, notable here. Keep an eye on this, guys. 440,000 share float. So very low float runner here, VEEE. Next up, you've got AGEN, Agenus, until the last couple 3-minute candles here was just on a steady cruise to the upside. They announced they're going to be raising $85 million to fund a drug trial for colon cancer treatments. Financing could actually reach $340 million should warrants be exercised. Now, AGEN here, this is actually in the Russell 2000. You've got a market cap of $325 million, float of around 37 million or so shares, 15% short float. Last but not least, QTTB, this one was actually on our watch list this morning. They released positive data for their trial of their alopecia areata treatment. This one's going to have a $424 million market cap, 9 million share float, 7% short float for QTTB. Back to you.
Okay, quick
Thank
one
you.
there.
Yeah,
We did get stopped out a little bit there on our Apple trade because it did break back down below 320, but then I just got back in again. I will ride this back to the upside, like taking real small hits and trying to hold out for bigger winners. I think that's the best way to trade. That is for sure. But yeah, VEE looking pretty good again. Oh, there's MI just halted. I brought this one to you guys earlier as well, as that name trying to get higher through $15 right now. That's on a halt, and so is VEE right now, as Adair just mentioned, that breaking through 15. And you know, when this was at 12, man, we started talking about it again. I was like, it looked like the velocity here on VEE starting to pick up again, and there it goes. Nice movement there. Now halting at 1485 with a tap of 15 right now, 1501 coming through on that name. And yeah, it's looking like my guy over here. I like it a lot right now. Qualcomm starting to get going again. So yeah, that's going to be a good one. Not feeling the same fate as the others, but wow, talk about a choppy name. Very, very hard to trade this today for sure, unless you're just waiting for sort of the pressure points there. And we're at one right now, breaking through 187 right now on QCOM as that goes higher back in for the day right now. Yeah, SpaceX.
160.
160 for SK Hynix. Okay, so that 155 that we wrote down was wrong for now, but we'll wait to see if we can get back into that trade. But yeah, 160. What did it come out at? 170? So we still have a way to go.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of ways to go. I think the low was like 166 and change on SK Hynix from Friday on the first day of trade. Obviously, it was a great long trade early on, but this sucker just continues to go higher and higher and higher. And all I keep saying is just break the trend at some point. But now all of a sudden, this is now $3 above the trend line, so it's really starting to overextend. USO did do a pullback, so you'll see I did jump in the battle because USO did this. It did fail that 114 level and is heading a little bit lower. It just bounced off of VWAP, but we've seen this before. If the high on any kind of a, call it tweet or truth or whatever we're calling, if the high is instantly made and we never take it out and can't close above it, then I'm going to look for the fade. So I'm in the fade here on BATL, and we'll see if I can get to the low of the day. We're going to go back up to Adair. We've got yet another update.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one here, guys. Another post from President Trump on Truth Social, and I'm just going to read it. Quote, in honor of Senator Lindsey Graham, a big supporter, the U.S. Senate should pass the Clarity Act. China and many other companies would like to take complete and total control of this major financial quote happening, as well as AI, where we are now leading, but where they are fighting hard. Don't let China win on either subject, 3 exclamation points. So President Trump, following the passing of Senator Lindsey Graham over the weekend, is now saying in Lindsey's honor that the Clarity Act should be passed. This is an odd one to say the least. Back to you.
All right. So we've seen a little bit of a move there. I mean, you're seeing, I was looking at IBIT there, trying to go higher, potentially Oh, come on, let's load up here. There it is. So a little bit of volume coming in right now for IBIT, as that seems to want to get higher. And yeah, just right now, it's still looking at the same names. We could look at Coinbase, you know, potentially here, 160, little low there for Coin. We can see where this one wants to go upside right now, and you know, breaking through this 160.50 or so marker there for Coin. You know, again, guys, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Thanks for being here with us every single day. Nvidia was a big move, you know, on basically all of last week. Every day it seemed like it was going higher, and right now today a down day for Nvidia. 208 trying to hold, but looking like it wants to break. I mean, the Nasdaq's trying to go higher right now. Some of the names I'm looking at, Apple not going higher. It must be all these DRAM.
Nvidia's looking weak.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Nvidia's right here, not doing great. Micron looking strong. You know, this is probably where the strength is. I wonder if you just sort of wait for the downside push every single morning and then buy it up, right? There's downside pushes in Micron, bought up there on Friday. Let's see what happened on Thursday. Now, Thursday, it looks like almost the opposite. We really got going there at 10 o'clock was the high. Then we hit the 200 period, and we kind of hovered around there and then actually closed. Yeah, I guess so every day. I got to zoom back out a little bit to see if that story is actually true. But it looked like today, anyways, a lot of rinsing happening. We talked about SK Hynix, talked about AMD, Intel, all those names. You know, we're on a downside move, and they've sort of brought themselves back up. So Intel bounces off 103. I think you got to wait for $100 for that one there. And then SpaceX, as Neil mentioned, there's some dip buys not getting hit, but still does dip into 138. So that was pretty good coverage, man. We haven't added back to this name, so we'll have to just wait to see where our out is. I was thinking about 141, just stopping out. But we had mentioned before, you know, we had less than 10% on this name, and we haven't added anything back. In fact, we got some out at 139. So let's see what happens here with SpaceX. We have 15%. It was Apple that we had the lower shares on, but we've reloaded Apple. So right now we have about 15% left. We did have 20%, 15% left of SpaceX, as that's trying to take down 140 again to the upside.
Yeah, and speaking of upside, Palantir looking like it's one of the names that's making a bit of a breakout here. So if you're looking for where the strength might be, the IGV getting a bit of a bump, and don't look at Microsoft as the reason. There's the IGV breaking out. This looks pretty solid, at least technically it does, because VWAP, Friday lows, I mean the consolidative level here in the pre-market, like in the open range, 92.2, looking very good. If Palantir is the one doing the heavy lifting, there's got to be something else in the services that I'm not seeing. Like, look at Microsoft is still trend down. Hopped over, like ServiceNow I know was a popular one. That's just breaking the volume weighted average price. No, this is definitely Palantir leading the IGV by a long shot. I don't recall seeing a story on Palantir this morning, but doesn't matter. Doesn't necessarily need when the market's bouncing anyway. So Palantir off VWAP, I suppose, looks a little bit good. USO is still tracking the same move before. Like, there's the higher low. So as long as that holds, as long as that high holds, then I'm short this trend break, looking low of the day on Battle. So we'll hang around that one, but I'm looking for one of these names to try and be into the long side of. And Palantir, I guess Palantir's really standing out. It seems like it's the one. I can't seem to see anything out of the software names that's looking a little bit better. So when in doubt, you know, go with the one that looks relatively the most strong, and that means VWAP here on a pullback in Palantir. Yeah, looking really good. SK Hynix is, forget about it. I thought this was going to be a short today. That was wrong. Took one crack at it, and I don't see much of a reason to be short this thing again. If at some point, as I said earlier, like one of these crazy steep uptrends gets broken, I suppose I'd take another shot at SK Hynix. But that sucker is gone ham. I guess they like it at the depressed price. They didn't really like it above 170. So now they seem to like it at a bit of a discount.
Yeah, exactly. And so we're just going to wait to see where that one winds up trading. I mean, you know, we've seen SpaceX try to pull back lower. Yeah. We saw day two play on SpaceX was relatively high. So SK Hynix on day two trying to get bought back up. Again, talk about a name that's being bought back up. Wow. Fire off the hot dog cannons if you're into this one. It is your friend AMD. I mean, it's definitely not my friend. I've been the one talking negatively about it. And it's just up to 550 again, and just like, okay, you know, another $20 straight to the upside. Tough trade, right? I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be like, hey, man, you know, you should be long or short this name. I don't really have a preference. at these current levels, I just think I want to get a little lighter in it just because of how heavy we are in the AI trade. And this name, of course, has been an AI darling, and just one of those names really maturing back to the upside is AMD. Look, I mean, this is kind of some of the names that are hitting on the hot list right now. These are names that are tracked by eSignal, giving us ideas of maybe what's potentially going a little outsized volume here. So AGEN, I've seen some of you guys post this as well. AGEN, so there it is, $126 million. They're talking about Tesla. There's that QTTB. That was on our watch list earlier today as well. So a potential look there for QTTB and AGEN as we go. Intel, SOXL, SOXS, we are looking at both of those. There's SPCX hitting the scanner once again. There's SK Hynix hitting the scanner. So this is called the hot list. You can get this pretty much on, I would assume a lot of the platforms have something similar to what this is. And it's just going to show us what's doing outsized volume and printing a little bit more on the tape than it's known to do. So yeah, Intel, Micron, Nvidia, and then there's AGEN that we had talked about here again as well. So I don't know what the story is with AGEN, but there it goes, upside, Adara.
Yeah, I mentioned it during the small cap recap. They're trying to raise some money to the tune of $85 million for a trial, but apparently they actually have the ability to raise up to $340 million with warrants.
Okay, so yeah, it looks like if they're going to be able to raise some money, yeah, why not? Let's see what happens here with AGEN trying to go back upside right now. Yeah, breaking. We had zoomed out before, breaking through the $7 mark seems to have really got this name going. But yeah, again, up 127%. $4 to start the day, $4.50 up to $7.50. But hey, just be careful because there's that zoom out look all the way back into here. So that goes back to last year, July. Almost. This is basically 360 round trip, man. We were back here. This is July 15th, the last time we were right here. So there's $7. Watch out for a break back down below through $7 on AGEN there. But yeah, good look if anybody has that one.
Yeah, definitely. It's not a good look for these oil names. Like you saw USO with the pump. Oh, this is not a good sign. If you're looking at Oxy right now, like USO bounce was about 10.15 or so. So if you look at 10.15, basically you held the lows, but you're still trending down on Occidental. Not a good look. If they're not even spiking when we get this, then that's just not a good sign. That's not a good sign. I'm looking at CVX here. Maybe a little bit better with CVX, but it's not doing much of a job here off the bottom. It's such a good technical break. I wonder if these are running out of steam a little bit. CVX at the 50 period on the daily. I'd like that dip buy into the Venezuela high, but you should be following through if oil is going higher, and if that's not the case, yuck. Yuck, yuck, and more yuck. Still waiting for Palantir to get itself to VWAP, but it's Palantir's pulling back. Here we go, finally pulling back into VWAP. I'm going to save that trend line for everybody as we are getting the dip into Palantir. Oh, the other thing is IBIT got out. It did bust VWAP, came right up to our entry price, and is now retaking the trend line down underneath the volume weighted average price. So the reload on IBIT is coming in for me as it's back underneath trend. So jumping back into the short for Bitcoin, IBIT, whatever, same thing. Going to target the low of the day here at 35.15. We're at about 62.5, but it's more about regaining VWAP downside, and then we'll try to hang on to this one a little bit longer. I love the fact here that it's curling under VWAP while obviously the NASDAQ futures are a little bit stronger than that. So it's still weak relative to the overall market, which makes it worthwhile to take another shot here at IBIT. What about that volume weighted average price in the middle of the day for me?
Yeah, I love the VWAP, I love the support and resistance levels, and I love SpaceX as it's coming right back in. I'm bidding 139 flat right now. We did have to absorb it all the way up to 140, so if it does pull back into this dollar right here, we'll get, see again, you know what, I'm just going to buy it. I was going to say, now I'm going to pull my 139. I just bought some 139.15s there, just in case, this was something. Oh, and we do have a new position. All right, we're in the TQs right now as we shorted that. This is another thing that we like to shorten. Reason why we got into this is because Apple went whoopsie daisy. We tried Apple again right there, lost it right there, broke through sort of not the low of the day, but the low of, that's been holding for the last half hour. So when that happens, man, we put on our trading cap I got to find it around here. Where's my Palantir hat? It must be over there. And we get some more outs there on TQs as that made a move down right back. And this is why we want to talk about it, because now it's starting to go back upside, right into the 50 period, right into VWAP as we shorted right there. I'm going to take out one more piece. We didn't get out of enough. We'll bid some 27s right here. Off a short 44. Maybe let's bid some 31s. And we get some more out here on the low end, but we're starting to retrace back just a little bit here on the NASDAQ. And again, I trade the TQQs. It's triple levered. It gives me a little bit more juice there. I'm bidding 74 10s right now to see if that will come through. That is pretty much where that 25 period is. My best outs, though, so far 15s. We got a couple here in the 20s as well. We'll see if this one wants to make a new move. I had to get my daughter blue through her hockey skates. Again, only 1 year it takes her to go through one pair. And so we bought some more, man. $700 for hockey skates for an 11-year-old. Seems a little bit expensive, but, we got to get her the best one. So we'll wait to see here. My wife's going to go get steel. And that's the problem. Once you buy skates, you got to pay for the higher quality steel as well. So she's in those black, they're called step steel. Yeah. So she's got to get those. She can't go back to the normal stuff. It's like once you finally swing a good bat, you can't go back to a shitty one, or the same thing with gloves and all that stuff. Every single kid on the High Park baseball team swings a $400 bat, regardless of if they can even make contact with the ball or not. So that's the most hilarious thing. All the parents always are laughing at that. It's crazy.
Well, you can't break a bat if you're not making contact.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, no, they won't.
But again,
they definitely won't be breaking those bats. But you got to buy quality equipment. That is for sure.
Yeah, it's worth the investment.
I think so for sure. But what else do I make money for if not my kids?
If you buy cheap stuff, it's just basically it's just.
Well, plus it's performance too, right? They don't.
Yeah, it makes an absolute difference. I've had that conversation with a couple, like one of the best kids. It's like, look, your kid's really good. Just get him a better glove. Like he's probably going to place it like next year. So let's just get him a better glove that fits, and you're going to be better off. It's going to last longer, and you can use the glove for like 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
Let's go up to Adara at the desk. It's 10:40, sector watch time.
It is indeed time for Sector Watch, which basically means it's time to look at a lot of weakness in tech, because electronic technology, save Apple, is really bleeding here today, guys. Intel down 4%. You've got SanDisk down 8%, STX down 4.5%, WDC down 5%, Micron down 4.5%. So semiconductors and memory names really weak. Now, if you go to tech services, you have some strength in the likes of Netflix and IBM, but then you've got Oracle down another 3%, AppLovin down a whopping nearly 9%, Meta, Google to the downside. So again, like some SaaS strength, but a lot of notable names, specifically the larger market cap names in this sector, are selling off. Producer manufacturing, you've got weakness here in the four leaders in the sector, namely AMAT, CAT, LRCX, and GEV. Some weakness here in consumer durables led by Tesla. Consumer services with some spots of weakness, AB&B and Hilton among them, and health tech, some weaker names here. Now let's talk about finance, because we're going to be watching the sector tomorrow when 5 of the 6 biggest financial institutions report earnings before the bell. Right now you have some of these names, including JP Morgan and BAC, to the downside. Morgan Stanley, meanwhile, they're going to be reporting on Wednesday morning. They're still down about 1% today. Back to you.
Boo, Morgan.
Yeah, what's up with that, Morgan Stanley?
That XLF's just going to have to wait, which is fine. That was never something that we thought was going to be pre-earnings. I think that breakout is post-earnings and maybe even next week. But it looks fantastic. I might even add to it in the personal account, to be honest with you, because after last year, I kind of fell out of favor for me, and then I only really liked my individual banks, which is Morgan Stanley and a couple of Canadian ones. So I've basically stuck to those, and it's just been fine. But getting back into the XLF, I think, makes some sense. Battle, I was thinking someone in the chat's like, oh, there goes Battle. Sorry, not sorry. Well, you knew where my stop was going to be. There's us, breaking this trend line. There's the high. There's the out. Trying to take 15 to 20 pennies, so we don't want to be giving it more than 6 or 7 and not to do that thing. But that's the level. That's what we're going to do. We're still over into our IBIT. SK Hynix, however, that might have been the top. That might have been it. It's a pretty heavy wick, but for the first time, SK Hynix is actually threatening. 155 was just, look, that was the level because it was a pre-market. So it looks so random taking a short through that price, but that was basically just a pre-market high. So when it came back through, that's a short. This is different. If we hold on to this southbound of the trend line, There's the open, there's the higher low, there's all your higher lows connected. If you hold this, then I want to enter there, look to give it to the prior bar from whenever it happens, play it to VWAP first, which is about a couple of bucks here on SK Hynix. Still one of the strongest things out there. It's got to be sure that it's actually going to be holding underneath that trend line. I'm still surprised that it's so strong, but you know what? They trade at like a 5 PE, so I guess there's some dip buyers out here maybe on some value.
Oh, and that, yeah, maybe.
Like it's super, like, well, both Micron trades at a cheap PE as well.
Oh, wow, Rev Boost. Yeah, man. That's a blast from the past right there. Yeah, I do have Oscar in the portfolio, and yeah, you're welcome. I'm trying to put it up there. Someone said right here, am I holding it? You have it right here, Rev Boost. Right here as well, talking about how you're up 100% on Oscar, and that was a good call. Hey, man, yeah, sometimes there's good calls around this joint. And wow, I mean, the TQs, wow, nice move to the down. There he is. What's going on, my guy? Sharif is now in the building right there, so we say a big shout out to Sharif. All right, so yeah, TQs, man, still bleeding downside. This was a big trade, man. We brought this to you. We told you as soon as we took it that we like this short in the market, and there it goes right there. So, yeah, really missed trading with Joe and Sharif coming on board right here as well. Neil and I taking you through the morning. It's 10:45. Yeah, okay, so Oscar, yeah, I mean, I guess you're welcome. Yeah, I mean, it's been a good one. You know, we're still long in the teens with this. Oscar's been a really good trade. And, you know, we sort of mentioned this a while ago. You know, I like some of these new names that are trying to disturb the space. It's Oscar time, baby. And that was definitely a decent look there for OSCR. Nice move higher right now into $32 on Oscar. So, yeah, man, good trade there. Glad that we have it. Glad that some of you do as well. So, yeah, so far so good there for OSCR, a big-time winner. And another one, like I look at the portfolio and it's like, why is the portfolio actually holding up this well, considering some of the names that I have? But it's because of diversification. And, you know, there goes Oscar. We talked also about J&J a little bit. You know, AbbVie has been a big one from the portfolio. So has LLY. You know, has been doing pretty good for a while. And then, you know, obviously holding on to the big one. And Sharif, you may not realize this, but Apple today takes out all-time highs, goes as high as 323 there for Apple as that keeps on going higher. But right now it's fading out a little bit on Apple as we get a little low there. And I don't know, I see that there's a note here. We can quickly look at USO as I read this. The US hasn't discussed the issue of possible tolls yet. Okay, so we thought that was maybe coming through. I thought there was like a 20% toll or something, but there it goes right now. The headline is that. So USO right here, you could see, has that big move up, then comes back down in. Now we're just kind of hovering around as the NASDAQ remains pretty lit up there, down 1.3%. Still $5 or close to $4 now on SpaceX. And here it is, man. This is actually right now, if you want to talk about like trades and, you know, sitting here and, you know, trying to put on something that we talked about. I mean, right into there. There's the SpaceX. Uh-oh, this is all frozen. Uh-oh. Golf. Uh-oh. All right, my computer.
Global tournament? What is that?
I have no idea. My computer has completely lost its ways right here. But if we scroll down a little bit here, as we got to wait, there's our TQQ short. There's the SK Hynix short. There's the SpaceX short. There's SoFi. So those are the 4 ideas that I have on today. We're going to go 3 for 3. Right here with Apple long, which was a banger. The SpaceX short, come on, man, 1 time in right there. And then 1 time on the TQQs as well. So, you know, 3 for 3, big time movement here today. And yeah, it's 10:47. We don't have the lunch menu. So unfortunately, we won't be able to have the what's for lunch conversation there today. But all good on the end of it anyways. So far, so good.
Plain chicken.
Plain chicken, yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Some kind of grilled chicken has been pretty popular the last couple of weeks, but who knows? It doesn't really matter. We're into SK Hynix again, so we've taken this has been upward trending. I'll be real about it. That's why I'm going to be sitting at the volume weighted average price. Like, it's been making higher lows the entire way through, but there's a topping tail, not really a topping tail candle, but as you can see through the trend line, it's a topping tail candle. Bless you, Sharif. That gives me an entry point. It gives me a stop. It gives me a target as well on SK Hynix. So for the first time since the open, we're back in it. If you're looking at the other names in the memory space, Micron holding up a little bit better. This actually looks, in some ways, a bit stronger now, holding above VWAP as well. It's a potential breakout through the high. I think expressing it in DRAM is another way to think about it, but that's about the same. So this morning, you had some weakness in the memory names early and strength over in SK Hynix, and now you're getting a little bit of the opposite take, if it even makes sense. But that's just how it is sometimes. One name that we haven't talked enough about is probably Tesla. It is bouncing, but see that 400? It's gone to 399, no dice over $400 yet. This is still lower highs. This is still looking like a curl day for Tesla. That's an obvious level. You don't break 400, I think this sucker back through the volume weighted average price will also be a short. But to me, it's about SK Hynix right now. You know, whether it's going to hold this, give us our trend, scalp trade. I think it's only scalp trades in SK Hynix as long as it keeps on holding these bids, right? So I want to respect that volume weighted average price if we can get it. But we're going up to Adara. Time for a little bit of money talks. How's the US dollar doing with oil coming back down?
We're actually going to talk a little bit more about oil before we get into money talks, because we have some more comments coming out here from CENTCOM and the U.S. military, so U.S. military and U.S. Central Command, making some announcements here about those strikes that they had against Iran over the weekend, saying that they apparently struck a submarine and ship maintenance facility in Iran on Sunday. They also are claiming that the strikes degraded Iran's ability to continue attacking commercial shipping. So, again, some comments coming out here. Apparently, this is the first time, according to U.S. CENTCOM, that the U.S. forces have employed sea drones in combat. So as we get more details, we'll keep you posted. Here's a look at the US dollar, which is trading higher today. I mean, we're not quite at that level of resistance that we hit last Wednesday, that high being around 101.3, but currently around 101.1. Let's see if we can continue higher. Again, the double bottom here on the daily chart around that 101.5, around prior resistance going back to March. That's going to be of significance here for the DXY and the US dollar. Economic data is going to be on watch this week because we have it in spades, specifically some key numbers. We're going to be getting CPI and core CPI tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. On Wednesday, we're getting PPI and core PPI. And then on Friday morning at 10 a.m., we're going to be getting the University of Michigan Consumer Sentiment print that does include an inflation reading. Now, tomorrow, CPI, we're expecting a little bit cooler than the prior print. So year over year, 3.8% versus 4.2% prior, and the CPI month over month, negative 0.1%. So a negative reading is what we're expecting compared to the prior print of 0.5%. The core readings, we're not expecting any change on a month-over-month basis. Here is the CME Fed Watch tool. Now a 40% chance of rates getting raised and only 60% chance of them being held. We've been seeing roughly 75-25, so this is a bit of a significant change. If you go over to probabilities, you're seeing another significant change, namely that instead of expecting another 25 basis point rate hike in March, following the rate hike we're expecting in September, that second rate hike has been moved up to January. So could be getting some rate hikes sooner than maybe we expected. Also want to let you guys know, tomorrow, just under 24 hours from now at 10 a.m. Eastern, Kevin Warsh, Fed Chair, set to attend his first ever as Fed Chair semi-annual monetary policy report in front of the House Financial Services Committee. This is going to be on watch, so stick with us for coverage of any and all of these events. We're going to send it back to the guys.
Thank you very much, as always, Adara. What am I doing? I gotta hit this.
Thank you very much, Adara.
Yeah, thanks, Adara, for all
Exactly. Why not? The market's trying to go, but are we going to have another
emotional damage
moment here? Sorry, I was just looking at AGN. Shriek sat down and was like, what's strong? And I was trying to remember the other ticker, and it was V and then that other one. No, we're right back to opening range highs and starting to head back and lower. It feels like it's that spot where you're looking to reload in some shorts or take some new ones. I mean, SK Hynix it's not new, but it's kind of new. But I'm also looking at something from earlier. Like there was that move on SMCI. It came flush down a bit, then broke the trend line. Now it's back underneath VWAP, so taking another shot at it, it's going to make a little bit of sense to me in here. So I'm going to get rid of that old trend line and just work off of VWAP here. If it closes underneath VWAP, then I still want to jump into the short. Just another reminder, I want VWAP here on SK Hynix. So I'm looking 156. It's like scalp the 150 to $2 and just take it. This stock has been unusually strong, and it hasn't made sense to me why SK Hynix is so strong. I thought it was a sell the news event on Friday. Outside of us taking the opening print, Let's be real. And that's sort of one thing that you've got to keep in mind. Like you'll see Sean, myself, everyone on it. I'm pretty sure everybody was taking it to the long side that I know of. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you're buying the hype for longer than just a few minutes. The idea is to go long on an IPO, or in this particular case, the direct listing. Not the direct listing, but the ADR. And then just get that hype trade and then work after that. Pretty much everything after that was a short. The afternoon show was looking at shorts. Today, while trend-wise it's been wrong, Phil, every time I just moved a little bit higher off the 156.5, which is the opening range. Here's the open, that's the top, and it just immediately starts bidding higher. So it doesn't want the full $2. It looks like it's going to be that maybe that $1.50 range. They just keep on buying it every time we get these dips in SK Hynix. So it's defying a little bit of expectations, in my opinion. I think that could be valuation. It could be manipulation. People are saying, oh, they're just trying to sucker people into longs in the stock. I don't know. I just know that we got to scalp it out. Someone just stepped up at 80s. Fine. I'll try to take 80s too if that's the way it's going to be. If you're not going to give me 60s, we'll try to take some 80s.
Yeah. Look, nothing wrong with SK Hynix. And I think that's a good short there. I mean, we've talked about liking that stock to the short side, so you got to wait for it, and that's a good one for sure. Yeah, just coming back into what I've been doing here. We only have a couple more minutes left. We don't have what's for lunch. Sharif's already seen the lunch there today, so we'll get an update from him on what exactly it is. Yeah, he could. Okay, yeah, Neil mentioned chicken.
So roll my eyes.
Sharif says it might be chicken there. Who knows?
What do you mean might?
But right into there. I did not reload, although we're right back in now. I did not reload that. I'm waiting for 55s. So if we get a 55, then we could stop out maybe around here, 75 or so. So waiting for a short to come into play here, of course, on the TQs. And it looks like it's hitting right now. I'm bidding 86s. That was kind of the best we gotten already. So we'll see if we get a little downside drift right now. And then, SpaceX is what it is for now. Yeah, hard-boiled tilapia. It was hard-boiled eggs for breakfast, and those are okay.
And literal hot dogs.
Yeah, that's the meat these days, is the hot dog feel around here. But yeah, Palantir, pretty strong there, up 1.3%. We could have a quick look at the watch list of mine. This is a self-curated watch list that I just put on different stocks. I got to add. Actually, I don't have SK Hynix on here, so I'm gonna. Or do I? Hold on, let me sort it by volume. I don't think so because I didn't add it. No, so I'm gonna add it right here. SPCX. So we'll go add. Where is it there? Add row. Insert row. SKHY. So we'll add there, and then we'll save this. Down 7%. All right, so that's SK Hynix. We'll sort this by change. So right there, as we talked about earlier, and it's SOX L with downside movement today. DRAM down 8% as well. ARM Holdings down 8%. I mean, some of these disgusting names go lower there. Marvell down 7%. Yeah, we're starting to bleed a little bit in the space, that's for sure. Micron, Intel, we don't like Intel. SMR is going to probably head to that $5 mark, now at 860. Oracle down again. That might be new lows there for Oracle, 135. Feels like it is, down another 4%. We can have a look at the Oracle daily chart. Yeah, so it does break below right now. Yeah, its last low is right around here, 133 and change. Watch out for Oracle at those lows right now. SpaceX, we've got that one. TQs, we got that one. Cerebras down 3, not doing a whole heck of a lot. Silver, let's go to the high side right now. And unfortunately, this is nowhere near what we've been doing on the other way around. And, we don't like to see USO long. I'm not long oil or anything. I still have some XLE that I just legacy position. So collect the dividends, see what's happening there. Roblox, man, my kids can't stop playing it. So there it is, $57. They were playing it at 5-6 years old. Now they're playing it at 12, 14 years old. XOM, big time move upside there too. DraftKings, I like the DraftKings look. Netflix coming with earnings on Thursday, so they're up 2.5%. Shopify on the note this morning, and Disney also upside. Starbucks. So, some of the names that are a little isolated from the AI and the data center build out there. Starbucks, PayPal, Palantir. Obviously, Amazon and Apple are kind of interesting as we talk a little bit more about the software names. Microsoft upside there. Alibaba continues to work. I like that. We may have seen the low. Shout out to Joe on Walmart there. Walmart now up to 114. Had a great low of 107. Wow. on Walmart. That's up now 6 or 7% from that level. So that was a good one here. And SPY not doing a whole heck of a lot today. So we'll have to wait to see on the spiders. Flat or so, down 1/3% there on the SPY. But that's a little bit of a look right there. We'll call that stock blitz for the day there. So there we go, man. Always trying to give you guys some more content. Stock blitz right there to start with some of that look. Not bad. Shopify might be the best name on there. We'll see if it can break out.
Yeah, Shopify looks surprisingly, well, I shouldn't say surprisingly good. But to me, it's surprisingly good because the market's so weak.
Yeah.
And the other thing about Shopify was what happened to it on Friday, and not just Friday. Sorry about that, but I have to go look at a 15-minute. This will show you a little bit better. The last couple of times it tried to break out and make a fresh range, fail, pull back. Friday, breakout, fail, pull back. So it was a little bit surprising that it's holding on so well. If this gets over 127, I think it's got a shot about as good as any. SK Hynix, the second I moved up the bid, it decided to sell right through into VWAP. So someone was asking me, and I'm going to do my best. Someone asked in the chat, Neil, can you move your chart over so there's some space on the right? So it kind of defaults to that, and every now and then, see, it won't let me drag. It's weird. So sometimes I can drag, sometimes I can't. It's probably some kind of a weird setting. But it did bounce right off of VWAP right after I got out of the trade. So a bit of a pullback happening on SK Hynix. If it gets under the volume weighted average price, I will jump back over to it. I am now offering SMCI underneath the volume weighted average price. I want to jump back into the long on this particular name. But with less than 1 minute to go, if we're talking about the theme on Friday, it was memory. Why? Well, because of SK Hynix. It was a sell the news event right when SK Hynix debuted, and then Micron caught a bid after the fact. Micron is now breaking out the high of the day in about 10 to 15 seconds. So now strength is coming back into it, and the way I see it, it's leading the way compared to SK Hynix. So if it continues to press higher and SK Hynix is underneath the lows, I'll look for shorts in SK Hynix, probably around here, 160, like a head and shoulders type of look, because suddenly it opens stronger and now it's looking relatively weak compared to its brethren. So SK Hynix at 160, I think, will be the next trade for me. We're going to send you guys over to the midday boy. Sharif is now in the building alongside Joe, and according to him, we're going to possibly be eating some chicken because he looked at the lunch and was like, maybe it's chicken. I don't know. We'll see. I feel like,
he was incorrect, so it's probably some sort of.
Oh, it's not
pork.
chicken.
What is it, Joe? What do you got over?
So we're not eating chicken.
Joe, what do you think? What is it, Joe? All right, over to them. See you guys.
Just tell us.